Welcome to Two Dudes in a Movie. I am Paul Tabling.
I'm AJ Ferguson.
And Luke is unfortunately out today, so we got my good friend. Go ahead and say your name for the crowd.
Hey, I'm John Conrad. Nice to meet you guys.
John Conrad.
Big friend of the show, fan of the show.
Friend of the show, fan. Also
Definitely.
a very big Star Wars fan. So we decided, since Luke was unable to be here.
Dude, you know what's funny? The last time we had a guest on, besides you, was for the Marvel stuff. We were doing Endgame.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny that the two bigger movies of 2019, we've had
a guest.
People on.
That is true.
Awesome. So,
Wow.
big time.
I'm honored.
Yeah, but
fantastic.
For all of you fans who only watch or listen for Luke, don't worry. He is going to put something out for a bonus feature giving us his opinion on the things we're going to talk about.
I have always wondered how people view the three of us. If they, like, in their mind are like, this guy's my favorite, this guy's my least favorite for sure.
Right.
I've always wondered that, if there's, like, people actually think that way, or if there's, like, we're kind of a package deal.
Right.
So if you really do like Luke a lot, and Luke's like your favorite character on the show, person on the show, he's for sure going to have his own little episode later. So it's just for you Luke fans out there.
So yeah.
But I think I'm a
You're a Luke fan?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't like Luke personally. We're not friends at all. So.
I think he would be my favorite.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm going to need you to leave. No,
yeah, no doubt. There's the door.
All right.
That's why I'm happy
Next
to be
time
like an
you're
understudy.
not getting invited.
Fair enough.
All right, fellas, let's jump in. Let's go with what we've been watching recently.
I watched episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Oh, boy.
Pretty quick succession, not going to lie. I think it was like in the last 4 or 5 days I watched all those movies.
Mm-hmm.
I watched episode 8 this morning and episode 7 last night. So, and then I'm on season 3 of Rebels. So flying through that show. Good stuff. Darth Maul's been the last couple of arcs. So
yeah, man,
that's been good.
Did you watch Rebels, Conrad? Have you watched the whole show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Good stuff.
How far are you into the Darth Maul story there?
I'm on the very beginning of season 3. So
okay.
They just did the holocron bit where they both holocrons opened up.
Yeah, you have to get through like twin sons and all that
Darth
stuff.
Maul's about to. He just left and said he's going to go find him, which him is obviously Obi-Wan.
That's a cool storyline.
Yeah, so we haven't quite gotten to the Obi-Wan part yet, but he did just open the holocrons. So cool stuff.
Yeah,
I like that show a lot so far, more than I thought I would like it.
I'm glad you're liking it because I think we talked about it a little bit. The first season's a little rough, but once it gets going, it's a good show.
It is good stuff, and I like Dave Filoni, man. That guy he cranks out good stuff. So
yeah, man.
That's it for me.
All right,
a lot of Star Wars.
Conrad, we'll let you go.
Well, you can even check my notes here. What I've been watching is Rebels again.
That's
what I've been watching. Star Wars Rebels.
Nice.
I just started up, so I'm only like 4 episodes into that first season. I actually kind of liked it because I'd forgotten a lot of stuff that happens, and I was like, oh yeah, the droids are in it. Oh yeah, hey Wookiees, you know. Like,
yeah.
You know, because they do some cool cameos there with some other characters, and they flesh out a lot of the things that happen in that timeline. And just like you said, Dave Filoni like is really underrated right now. I don't know how long he's gonna fly under the radar on this kind of stuff, but like his input into obviously Clone Wars. And then Rebels, I really feel like is kind of his baby. Mm-hmm. Resistance,
I haven't watched that.
I've never gotten really excited about Resistance, but I hear it gets better as you keep going.
I've only watched one episode, and that was on Part of Mine. So yeah, I haven't
watched that one at all.
Yeah,
I'm not into that one yet.
I choked down about 4 episdes.
Yeah, it's not very good.
I'm just like, well, I just wanted it to be as good as Rebels.
Yeah,
and it's just not.
So which one do you like better, Clone Wars or Rebels?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've only seen like 6 episodes of Clone Wars, so it's really the one I need to watch now.
So I grew up with Clone Wars, like legit. As it was coming out, we would buy the DVDs and we'd watch them. So I love Clone Wars. I'm like super biased. So I was like, Rebels will never compare to Clone Wars. And I'm not quite ready to say it's as good as Clone Wars yet.
Yeah.
I think Paul likes Rebels better if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
Rebels is my favorite.
Yeah, but for me, like Clone Wars is still a little bit better. Like I said, I'm only halfway through Rebels, so I'm excited to see the rest of it for sure.
Yeah.
But it is a really surprisingly well done show. Like, and like we were talking about, Dave Filoni just does such a good job of adding new content while still staying true, like to that Star Wars narrative with all those side characters. And man, it's just really, really well done.
I feel like he's one of the only people that I would get behind as he comes up with like new canon for Star Wars, because he makes sure it fits and he's not breaking a whole lot of rules. Now, sure, there's some other aspects of it that I look at a little cynically, like, oh, am I supposed to collect a bunch of holocrons now? Do you want me to go buy this stuff or whatever? Is this just a toy?
Well,
but no, I think they've been really
I'm glad he's working on Mandalorian too. Like that's really fun to watch him and John Favreau work on stuff together, because I think both those guys are huge nerds, huge fans, and so I think that's been really good project for both of them.
Definitely.
Yeah, and as I understand, he's pretty involved with Episode 9 of Star Wars as well. So
Oh, Dave Filoni?
I think he was involved in the
okay.
writing of it, helping out Abrams and all that stuff.
good.
So
I can see that.
He's good stuff, man.
He's good,
Disney
man.
needs to keep him around for sure.
They will. I mean, because they've got
I guess Clone Wars coming out.
7, 6, 7.
Season 7.
And I mean, you haven't gotten to the end of it, but I mean, Rebels leaves on a big like cliffhanger of like they could do more if they wanted. I don't know if they will. I think they should.
I think they will within some of the other stories they're working on.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Disney Plus, yeah.
Anything else you've been watching recently, Conrad?
No.
Okay. Hey, man. It's that season.
So
You're a busy man.
The other big thing I'm watching is Mandalorian every week.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you rewatch any of the old Star Wars movies?
Yes, all last year, starting in January. I've got younger kids, and so my daughter, who's 11, it was good for her to go through it and stuff. And then I have a 6-year-old now, and she was really kind of experiencing it for the first time. She'd been seeing us watch Star Wars and stuff, but like this year, it was like she could really process some of the stuff.
Nice.
So I always start with like episode 4.
Yeah, I was going to ask you your viewing order preference.
So I start with episode 4, get their head wrapped around that. But then at that point, I just go straight back and do everything in order. 1, 2, 3, 4 again. 5, 6, 7. And then you see 4 in a different light.
Hit 4 twice, yeah.
But I always start with 4 for some reason.
So do you throw Solo, Rogue One in there too?
Yeah, we watched those. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Totally.
Nice.
We had a conversation a couple weeks ago about viewing order, so that's always a question I ask people. It's fun.
Yeah,
fun
I start with 4
conversation.
and then I go chronological.
I like it.
I do like that too. Yeah, to kind
Hit
of
it twice.
get it going.
It's just the character development that happens in 4 when you first meet Luke, you first meet Obi-Wan, and everybody involved, and it's just like those introductions would seem weird.
No doubt.
If you hadn't. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I got you.
doubt.
I like it. For me, also Star Wars heavy. Like I said, I watched the first episode of Resistance, but since we recorded last, I've watched everything from Solo to Episode 8. So Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm really glad
and
I
9,
watched them
obviously.
all.
I am too, because
There's so many callbacks.
totally.
So many callbacks.
I should have done, so I have a little ritual with Marvel now, is I find the date or whatever of, when the new movie's coming out, and I watch a movie every week. I go back in the calendar far enough to say I need to start this week, and I watch a movie every week to get caught up to. That's what I did for Infinity War and Endgame. I should have done that with Star Wars.
Nice.
Because I feel like it was good for me to obviously watch them all. I'm glad I did, but I wish I would have done it over a more longer period of time, because I watched all 11 movies in 2 weeks.
Dude, I think the first episode we recorded in December, I don't think I'd watched any of them yet.
I don't think I had either.
And so I'm pretty sure we're in the same boat. We both watched 10 or 11 movies in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
So yeah, it was kind of a big cram.
What's really funny is I'm watching Mandalorian, I'm watching Rebels, I'm reading a book currently. It's called the Labyrinth of Evil or something like that.
Okay.
And it's just a Star Wars book. I'd never really read Star Wars books before. So I'm literally just inundated with Star Wars for
totally.
the last 2 or 3 weeks. So
We're doing it upright, man.
pretty funny.
All right.
Mandalorian?
Yeah, let's talk about episode 6, and then we'll talk a little bit about 7 to get us all caught up.
So 6 is the prisoner ship.
Yes.
With the comedian guy as
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr,
yeah. Okay, so for me personally, I want to hear y'all's thoughts. Episodes 4 and 5 were the weakest 2 so far. 6 was the next best one. And then for me, 7 was even better than 6.
I'll agree.
So for me, 4 and 5 were the low point of the season. Not that they were bad necessarily.
Yeah.
They were just the lowest point. And then 6 and 7 for me has elevated it back up toward kind of where it was episode 1 as far as the trajectory. So I want to hear y'all's thoughts as far as kind of more meta discussion first before we kind of dive into each individual episode. What do y'all think as far as 4 and 5 being the bounty hunter new rookie person, and then the village compared to the prison ship and the big kind of epic fight in episode 7?
I'm having trouble remembering which one. Which one did we get introduced to Cara Dune?
So that's 4.
4. That's
right?
the village one.
Yeah, that's the one
he
where
has the
he's-
little romantic thing with the lady.
Sorghum, I think,
Honestly,
is the planet.
that one's one of my favorites. It's probably
Really?
my second favorite.
I do
one a
like
lot.
that one.
Interesting.
I think episode 2 was probably the slowest and lowest.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm waiting forever, and then finally
I didn't
something
like the
happens
second
with
one.
Baby Yoda, and I was like, oh, okay. So we finally saw some
Yeah.
force powers come out of this guy. So
Yeah.
so that was really cool. It was a good payoff at the end, but overall that one was really slow.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, 4. I think.
So you like the
honestly,
village
it's probably
one?
my second best. Yeah.
Really?
Well,
See,
nice.
I liked the village one for like a few reasons, but for me, like they did a really poor job explaining how long he was there. Like they tried to make it feel like he was there for like months.
Yeah, that could
And
have
it was
been like
like-
3 days.
Yeah, I was like, well, and even like on screen, it was like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was like he's like a little like legitimately about to let her take his helmet off. Like that's how much he likes this girl.
Yeah.
But like we've only seen her for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
She's only had like 3 lines.
And then somewhere towards the end, he was like, it's been a couple weeks. And you were
Uh-huh.
like, it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so for me that I like that episode. I think it could have been like a really cool arc, like I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes, but in an 8 episode season, you really just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For me, episode 7's been my favorite one, I think, so far. Besides maybe the pilot.
So
I love the pilot. That pilot was awesome.
my 2 favorites, I realized, and I think the other one was what was 3? Episode 3 was the one where he like steals Baby Yoda back, like he brings him.
He goes in and he fights, and that's when he gets the little things on his wrist that shoot the the birds.
So
yeah.
that episode is my favorite, the 3rd one, and
Yeah.
my second favorite is 7.
Yeah.
And both directed by the same person. Was that Deborah Chow,
Yeah.
who's doing Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
So that just pumped me up more for the Obi-Wan show, because those 2, I don't know if it's all her, but like it helps. But I did enjoy 6.
but 6 was just fun. It was just a fun episode.
Yeah.
Like there was just so much happening, like so much fighting and different fun things going on. It wasn't a great episode,
Yeah.
but there were just some cool sequences, I guess.
It felt like more of the same of we kind of get away from the main story of
That's true.
the Mandalorian. I was like, okay, we need to we're 3/4 of the way done with the show, and
true.
we like need to wrap this together. But it
that's how
was
I
a
feel.
fun episode.
That's how I feel about 4, 5, and 6 combined. Like nothing advances really from episode 3 to episode 7.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the plot doesn't advance at all.
Other than learning a few, like Cara Dune, like learning about another character,
Yeah.
Right.
things like that.
Yeah. I liked her. I think she's been a good, not an improvement, but I think she's been a good addition to the team, a good addition to the show. I like the big bad in 7. Kind of, he's like the real villain, not necessarily the guy we thought was the villain.
Yeah.
Moff Gideon.
He's
Had to write that down.
Breaking Bad, right?
Breaking
Right.
Bad. Yep.
Right.
You ever watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah, he's got like the chicken restaurant.
Yeah.
Got the chicken fingers.
Los Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't watched a lot of Breaking Bad,
That's
but
good.
I like Better Call Saul.
Oh,
Yeah,
gets to be
he's
in that
he's
too.
in that
He's
too.
in that show too.
Yep.
Anyway, I enjoyed 6 and 7. For me, more than 4 and 5. What was 5? 5 was the rookie bounty.
Was the-
hunter. I didn't like that one.
But you do end up finding out that I think that the guy at the end of that episode who like walks up to the dead body is the Moff Gideon guy.
What?
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure.
it's Fett.
Dude,
I'm
you're
serious.
one of
You're
those
on that-
people.
You're on that train?
Yeah.
I'm not on that
Hey,
train
he's
at
got
all.
he's got the spurs and everything.
I'm not on that train at all.
Dude,
I think it's Fett.
that's funny.
I mean, I think that'd be cool.
I think
I
he's
mean,
still hanging
it'd
out
be
there.
cool, but
I
I
think
think it was the Gideon guy because it just kind of shows that he's been on Mandalorian's trail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just kind of my thoughts. But
Whenever they shot that guy through the window with like the Gatling gun thing and like that was awesome. That was awesome.
I think it was the
Really
pilot.
cool
The
scene.
first time you see him actually just pop somebody and they just
The disintegrate.
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
just like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The disintegration thing is.
Yep.
That's cool.
But yeah, 6 was a great one for like expanding the universe that he's
No
in.
doubt.
Like, okay, he knows all these other people. They know
Yeah.
him. This is
Yeah.
a bigger. All of a sudden, things got bigger. And
He has
and
a
surely
track
there's-
record with these people, and he has
was-
a history. And
There was a lot of cameos too that I appreciated.
Yeah,
I
so
love
at
the
end with
X-wings. That
Yeah,
was
Dave
fun.
Filoni was
Dave
one of
Filoni,
them.
yeah, that
Deborah
was fun.
Chow
Deborah
was
Chow
the
was one of them.
female, and the guy who directed that episode, Rick something or other. I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah.
Was the other guy. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
I bet Dave Filoni had so much fun flying an X-Wing.
Dude.
He was
And
probably just like sitting there just like nerding
I
out.
love how they just gave themselves such straight lines and they didn't overdo it or anything. Sometimes a director will cast themselves in something and you're kind of like, I wish somebody was there to just say no. And they did a great job with that.
Yeah,
No doubt.
yeah.
That was fun.
Well, they were just like on patrol. They were just like chilling, not doing anything too fancy or anything.
Yeah, and how cool they are about it. He's like, I'm going to take this out. It's just like,
Yeah.
No doubt.
well, look, it looks like he's trying to attack us.
I like the New Republic droids. Those were cool.
Oh yeah,
Those were cool.
guard droids.
Yes.
I like those. Those were cool.
Yes.
I liked the setting up the New Republic thing. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a lot of world building, a lot of expanding the universe, a lot of, hey, this is not just this little TV show. This is a Star Wars thing, and we're trying to make it a big deal. So I
so
like
you
that
say
idea.
you grew up with Clone Wars and stuff like that.
No doubt.
I grew up with shows that were less like what we're used to now. Right now we're in all these serials where it's a series and everything is supposed to build on the last thing, and that's really made TV pretty great. But when I was a kid, it was stuff like the A-Team and everything was episodic.
One
And it was
episode ends and
Yeah, and you knew the characters. They're going to have an adventure, and when it's over, you could basically, in reruns, just mix them all up all you wanted, and it didn't really matter.
very Seinfeld-esque.
Yeah. And so this is a very episodic kind of show like that. And it's been interesting to see, I guess there's a tiny storyline going on here, but you could
literally,
mix this up
That's a
pretty
good point.
So episode 1,
I like that.
kind of 2, and then 7 really are the only ones that have anything to do with each other.
Yeah.
Right? I guess
3. 1, 2, 3.
Because he steals the guy.
And then
He steals-
7. Yeah, so
you're
4,
right.
5, and
Big
6
character arc
are...
for
You're
Mando.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
Like
You're
when
right.
he decides, I'm
doubt.
basically going to have to break all the rules to do the right thing here.
I
Yep.
do.
And when they all kind of come to the rescue at the end, that's a very cool scene.
So would you
for sure.
would you call Mando an anti-hero, or is he just a straight up hero?
I think...
Because he felt like an anti-hero early, but he becomes, to me at least, he's becoming more and more heroic.
Yeah.
I think that's the arc. It
I
changes
think
at
that's
the end of
supposed
3.
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially whenever at the end of 6, they're all in that prison cell.
Yeah.
I just assumed he killed him
Right.
because
Right,
you don't
okay.
actually see them die.
And Bird called him on that. He said, "You're a
And
man of honor."
he
right?
says you're a man of
no,
honor.
the other guy calls him.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. He says you're a man of honor, and then at the end it shows him in the prison cell. I was like, well, hey, I probably should have seen that coming, but that's great. It makes sense, and that works to his character. I think he's becoming more and more heroic, and we see that even in episode 7. I think. Yeah.
I get that. That part actually frustrated me.
Really?
Because, and that's one of the things that frustrates me about Rebels, the show, is I get that it's a kid's show,
Right.
but also they're just stormtroopers. You're allowed to kill a stormtrooper every once in a while.
Right.
Like, you don't have to just knock them
Hey,
all
they've been
out.
killing some people. Last
But they
couple
fall
episodes
off
I've
the
been
bridges
I've
and
been
stuff.
watching.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, it happens.
They chopped the dude head off the other day. And one of the episodes I watched, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the most I've ever seen in this show.
I used to always watch Rebels episodes before I showed them to my daughters.
That's awesome.
Because sometimes they get a little dark, and I was like, we're just going to skip over a couple episodes.
Some of them do. I'll give it that. But like this one, I was like,
you're right.
man, this dude is like,
But I like
this.
that.
I understand your point now. It makes more sense hearing your point.
The more heroic thing.
The more heroic thing.
I just assumed he killed him because they're like, scrap, just garbage people.
Oh, well,
who
especially
don't-
shutting that dude in the door twice.
No
I was
doubt.
like, that dude's got to be
no
dead.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big strong guy.
Yeah.
Gosh, that guy was ugly, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But
no, I like that, and I think episode 7
got
from
you.
you is my favorite so far, besides the pilot. You just get to see Mando fight, and he is so much fun to watch fight. Like, he's just so good at it.
when they just
And
all
so
stood back and let him
fluid.
handle the droids, and I was just like,
oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
that was some good stuff.
It's really,
I'll give
really
it that.
cool. I've been really impressed. We've talked about this before, but I've been really impressed with Pedro Pascal's ability to act and show emotion
With no
with
facial.
no face. Like, he's so impressive. And they do a great job, the directors and the writers do, of holding a shot just long enough and him tilting or angling or whatever, just long enough in the right way that you can feel what he's feeling and think what he's thinking.
For sure.
And they just do a really good job of that. And I don't think people give them enough credit for that, because that's really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
Try giving any robot or anybody who doesn't have a face character and emotion, and
A lot of that comes down to editing, too. Just
that's true.
Yeah.
too,
patience to say,
No
we're going to
doubt.
hang on this for 3 more frames. And
No
sometimes
doubt.
it makes all the difference.
No doubt.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I think John Favreau, man. I think he's a genius. I think him and Filoni working together. I think it's been dynamite. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm pumped for the next one. I'm excited
For the finale.
To record. I'm excited to record next week and let us kind of talk about the season as a whole, but also that finale and see how it ends.
Had you heard this on Mandalorian episode 4? That wasn't actually Pedro Pascal in the suit. He was off shooting another thing, and I forget his first name.
He just did the voiceover.
I forget his first name, but they've got 2 other guys helping out with, standing in and stuff. And I guess he had some really long conversations with this other guy. And the other guy is actually John Wayne's grandson. So he brings a little cowboy to it.
Wow.
But he's in the suit that whole time. So sometimes he's standing there and doing some different stuff. And I was like, that kind of looks like Fett. That kind of looks like a cowboy. What am I looking at here? And,
That
was cool.
I haven't heard that theory.
I haven't heard that either, but I have made a lot of references to this show being a very gunslinger cowboy-esque.
Look at how they
it's
shoot
a spaghetti
it.
western. I really feel like it is.
Yeah.
How many times have they showed the shot of just his hand on his holster,
on his gun? Yeah.
Or the very old school shooting guys off the top of the building,
like from behind the guy, low shot. Yeah.
Or he just walks around behind people in the prison episode all the time. He kind of
shootout at the
people.
end of the pilot's so good.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I love the shootout at the beginning of the pilot when he shoots the door and chops the guy. Just golly, some of his one-liners are very Clint Eastwood-esque.
Yes.
Just like I'm a bad dude, and
there
you don't want to be
it's
here
very
right now.
Eastwood.
Yeah.
It's So I think it's really really well done, but it's not too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
That pilot shootout with him and the droid.
IG-11,
and they're shooting the Gatling gun and just that was just straight up Rio Lobo, whatever Western movie you want to think of. That's all it was.
for sure.
It's so much fun.
I grew up with Star Wars, and you'd seen a lot of these different types of bounty hunters on Empire Strikes Back. And so you see those guys again here, and you're like, I don't know if it's the same guy, but it's obviously the same species, right?
Right.
So you see the IG unit in this pan of all the characters on Empire Strikes Back, and then you get to Fett, and he talks to him about no disintegrations and stuff, so you learn a little bit about what they do.
Yeah.
But you never really have seen that guy in action.
No
so
doubt.
to see him just swivel around and pull this junk, and you're just like, oh,
He's awesome,
man,
yeah.
that is the
No,
most
he's really
dangerous
good.
droid I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, dude.
I kept waiting for the droid to do something in episode 7.
There it
So
is.
I think he's going to be a big part of 8.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think he's going to, and so we can dive into 7 a little bit more because I have a few things.
Were
with
you
that.
sad when the Ugnaught died?
Dude, I've got a little I was like, no, what?
Quill.
I have spoken.
I was like, yeah.
That's what
he's
my
got, a
favorite
line of
things about
t-shirts
social
now.
media the last 2 or 3 weeks has been people's comments and just if they don't agree or don't have anything else to say, they just say I have spoken. That's their only comment. That's such a baller move.
That's so
This
good.
is this is the way, and I have spoken.
Yeah, this is the way.
Oh, man.
The I have spoken thing I will probably be referencing for
Indeed.
a long time.
Oh yeah.
I was sad when he died, but I thought it was a necessary death just to kind of add some weight to the show, kind of add some, hey, we kind of introduce a character and we kill him off too. It's not a this isn't The Walking Dead where people just make it for 17 seasons.
That's a jacked up ending. Not everybody makes it on Walking Dead.
That's true. Not everybody makes it on Walking Dead,
They
but
clean the slate every once in a while.
every once in a while it takes a couple of seasons. But I'm just saying, for a character like him, to me at least, he felt kind of untouchable as far as they're not going to kill that guy. He's not. He doesn't even have a reason to die.
I will say I'm still skeptical. I got to go look at it again. I feel like everybody is bound for resurrection these days. I'm like,
Well, that is true.
He wasn't
That is
exactly
true.
powdered. I mean, he
No
was still
doubt.
kind of laying there.
He was he was just sizzling a little
No
bit.
doubt. Now the Emperor's back. Oh, spoiler. I'm just kidding. It's in the
That's
trailer.
in the trailers.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think
but-
spoilers are,
Yeah, it's kind of out the window at this
Yeah.
point. His voice is literally heard
We're spoiling everything tonight, by the way.
Yes, for sure. I was going to preface that, and that actually does. I'm glad we said it here. Spoiler alert! Because the other thing about this episode that totally set up, and I'm so glad.
yeah.
Was Baby Yoda
The
healing? I was like, man, that is a force power. I mean, yeah, it's in the video games or whatever, but force heal myself so I don't die. But that was completely different. But this was totally he had a big poison attack on him, and he just straight up healed him. And I was like, what?
How cool of Star Wars people, whoever's in charge. I don't know who's in charge of it. If it's J.J. Abrams or whoever, Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know. But how smart and how well done for them to have planned this out I don't know how intentional it was, but for us to see Yoda or whatever his name is, the child, heal, people, or at least try to heal people, and then actually do it, and then 3 days later, Rey does it in like a super epic way, and then obviously Ben does it again at the end.
Whoa, spoilers.
Yeah.
No, we said it. We're good.
We're good.
But yeah, so to me that was genius. As far as the planning, the long-term planning goes into that. They bumped up
the release date of that episode of Mandalorian.
Just to Wednesday.
Right, just for that. And I remember thinking like, well, I wonder what's going to apply. I mean...
something has to.
And then sure enough that happened, and I was like, well, there it is.
No doubt. I literally tapped...
It was a minor spoiler for me.
I tapped my brother on the shoulder as soon as we watched it. I was like, bro, there it is. That's the reason we watched Mandalorian.
And I said I've been walking my daughters through this, right? So we were like watching all this stuff, and so we've been doing Star Wars theories on what's going to happen in Episode 9 for a long time, and what does Rey do or Leia do. They'll talk a lot about like, oh, Leia, pulled herself back into the ship in Episode 8 and stuff. So I was like, that proved she had some Force sensitivity. It was really the first time you'd seen her do anything special,
right?
That would be considered like using the Force. And I was like, well, maybe she has some other powers, that aren't like using a lightsaber. Maybe she can heal people. I remember talking to him about that. And I don't know why that seemed like such a necessary thing to happen next.
Yeah.
Maybe just because I've seen Chronicles of Narnia and I know what Lucy's power is. Or,
right.
But I was like, at some point, like Leia has to have some special, more sensitive, nurturing Force powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like they've introduced that now, and that's like,
I love it. Well, and they just introduced the projection thing in Episode 8, so it was just logical for them to introduce one more thing.
Yes.
In Episode 9. But yeah, so really random note, kind of while I'm thinking about it, I noticed that in Rebels, they did a lot of things that kind of helped make Episode 8 make sense. And I don't know if that was Dave Filoni saying, hey, Rian Johnson, I got your back, or if that was a, hey, let's plan ahead for this thing. But like
what? I can't remember exactly what you're talking about. Give me an example.
They made the fuel like a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Where they actually
they run out of fuel a lot in Rebels.
Yes, they do. For sure.
And I was like sitting there in the theater in Episode 8, and I was like, this is the dumbest storyline ever. Like, who runs out of fuel in Star Wars? Never happened before.
Never talked about fuel,
and then
bullets.
I'm watching in Rebels. I'm like, holy crap, they run out of fuel all the time. Yeah. So I'm going back and looking at the year, the release date for Rebels, and it was relatively around the same time, roughly.
Maybe that's what you got to do with Star Wars.
So to me, it kind of has that like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. aspect where it's like it's definitely not like you have to watch this in order to understand this.
Yeah.
But there are a little, bunch of little things that kind of feed into it.
If you're the kind of person that asks those extra questions, you're probably the kind of person that also watched this extra show.
No doubt.
And you're going to get those extra answers.
No doubt. And then the blade, the knife thing we talked about.
Oh, yeah, the dagger of Mortis.
Didn't that come back around? Kind of.
Well, it wasn't.
It wasn't it.
They didn't ever say.
But it probably is.
But I mean, maybe
could be
because
from Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That was a Clone Wars thing.
Right, I'd heard of it.
I don't know if that's legit or not.
I don't think it is. Yeah, but I mean,
it's cool to think about.
Yeah.
Old Man Rex is in the Battle of Endor.
Yes.
Did you see that connection?
Yes.
In Episode 6.
I did.
You seen that connection?
Yeah.
From Rebels. That's pretty cool. I didn't think about that until I saw an article about it the other day.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And I mean, that is like confirmed, like a
canon,
thing. Like he is. Yeah, that's the old man with the beard in on the Battle of Endor is Rex.
That's awesome. That's a cool deal.
Which I thought was.
I love that storyline with Rex.
Yeah,
really cool.
I love Rex. He's a great character.
Yeah,
dude. If you like Rex, you'd like Clone Wars. Clone Wars is awesome. Clone Wars is just fun, just because of the amount of different things they do and amount of different worlds they go to and stories that they tell. I imagine Rebels just even more expanded out just because it's Clone Wars. And you got characters like Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Mace, and Yoda.
Right, but I'm looking forward to seeing more like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka within Clone Wars.
Yeah,
and
that's
that kind
super
of
fun.
story
Ahsoka's a great character.
Yeah,
she's a great
Ahsoka
character.
is a great character.
Apparently, people thought she was going to come in Episode 9, but she never,
I heard a lot of...
Yeah.
Never did.
If she was hiding in there, I missed it.
I know. I didn't. I couldn't find her. I was waiting for like just a small cameo, but
there is one
of Ahsoka.
There's a voice,
and we'll
cameo.
get into that.
Really?
We'll get into that.
I didn't see it.
Is it purely auditory?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I mean, I figured she was in that mess. If she was going to be in the movie, that would be that jumbled up.
Yeah.
Mess. I did like that scene though. That was cool.
So,
okay.
All right.
Should we jump into it?
Yep. We will. Let's hop on in. So we are obviously talking about the Rise of Skywalker. Again, if you're still listening at this point and we haven't already spoiled the movie for you.
We haven't spoiled anything that much yet.
Not much. Spoilers. Stop it now. Pause, whatever. Go watch the movie. Come back. We'll still be here.
No doubt.
Fair enough.
All right, so a little few deets here. So a little synopsis: the surviving resistance faces the First Order once more in the final chapter of the Skywalker saga. Years, obviously 2019. Some actors: Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, Carrie Fisher, Anthony Daniels, and Billy D. Billy D.
Making the comeback. Has he ever been in anything else?
Not that I've ever seen, but I'm sure he has.
I mean, I'm
Back in
sure
the
he has
day.
too, but nothing like consequential, you know.
Oh, it's great stuff back in the day.
J.J. Abrams directed. The budget of I mean to look this
$7 trillion.
up. Budget of $300 million.
Yep.
I want to see how much they've made to date. Let me.
I'm actually surprised it's that low.
The budget.
After
Yeah.
watching it, after
dude.
seeing the ridiculous amount of people just in the movie, and of course
At one point, my wife
Credits at
leaned
the
over
end.
and said, "I bet the costumes on this thing cost at least $1 billion." I said,
real.
"You're probably right, man.
Right.
The number of people on this show with all the different costumes, like
Yeah.
holy,
and there's just like a city worth of people that
Oh,
are
no doubt.
that are just animators and,
No
and all
doubt.
the graphics design and everything.
You get paid a bunch of money to be on this movie and literally never leave an office.
I feel like they
Like,
can
you just
say,
sit behind a computer.
I mean, between that and all the Marvel movies coming out at the time and stuff, just between those, ILM, I would imagine, has added to their staff quite a bit.
Dude.
But
Lucas has done a bunch of brilliant things.
I hope y'all got a raise.
But dude, ILM is one of those things that just
for
like,
real.
it's impressive.
Okay.
Money.
Let's see. I'm
I
trying
looked
to.
at IMDb and it was like a 7.0 or something like that.
I'm
Yep,
trying
it
to.
is.
Metacritic was pretty low. It was like a 55 or something.
I'm trying to find
think it'll
some
go up.
earnings real
went up?
quick.
I think it will.
You think it will go up?
Yeah.
All the critical reviews that I read, like from like real people, are not good.
Really?
All the like New York Times and all the fancy people who judge movies didn't like it, which they don't like really any Star Wars movies. So
Yeah. So right now, Rotten Tomatoes has it a 57.
mm-hmm.
IMDb is a
Really?
7. Yeah. The critics again
it's all the
are
it's
just
all-
dumping
it's-
on it.
It's political, dude. It's ridiculous.
What
and
did
Metacritic
episode
is a
8 get?
53.
Episode 8 probably got lower than that.
Well, here, let me actually just pull up Rotten Tomatoes because I know when, like, just on the main Google page, it's the critic review.
Yeah.
Episode 8 audience review got a 91.
Really?
Yes.
So I'm actually surprised with that too, because I think episode 8 has gotten a lot of flack.
Mm-hmm.
oh, totally.
No
I mean,
doubt.
there's things I would have done differently about it too. So I mean,
No doubt.
So-
but I also really like Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson. I like what he
Yeah.
did, and yeah. So there's just a few times I was like, I would have done something a little bit.
I liked probably, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but I liked, I don't know, like 50 to 60% of that movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
Luke
I mean,
hated like about
Oh, dude.
1000% of it.
There's certain things that were just so not Star Wars. It was just like,
Yeah, there were some
okay.
things about it I did not
between
like.
dialogue and
But,
a
yeah.
planet I call Las Venice.
Yeah, no
And I
doubt.
was like, art direction on this is just not Star Wars.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That's really fun,
No
but
doubt.
that's more Firefly.
I just
or
could
something.
not get over the ship sitting like this in outer space for an hour and 30 minutes and literally nothing happening for an hour and 30 minutes of a 2.5 hour movie.
That's how
Oh,
it was.
it killed me. That killed me.
It was a little
Other than
slow.
that movie was not bad. Which, like I said, about an hour and a half of this. But I didn't like the Finn thing with Rose, and because that whole subplot ended up being for nothing. They didn't accomplish anything,
I don't know.
right? They stole a thing
I don't know.
and got back to base, right?
anyway, let's
they
talk about
accomplish
Rise of Skywalker.
I agree.
Let's
If Luke were here, we'd be arguing about episode.
Yeah,
8,
we'd
so.
already be there. The audience score for Rise of Skywalker is currently an 86 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
All right.
So if you average those
Nice.
out, we're probably, what, in the 70 something or other?
Yeah, I'd say
So that's fair.
it's not bad.
So yeah,
IMDb being at 7 is pretty solid.
IMDb being at 7 is pretty, what I would give is accurate. So
Sevens are good.
yeah. All right. Well, so we got, again, if you're, for whatever reason, if you see this and this is your first episode with us, the way we review movies is we have 5 categories, and we, rank them 1 to 10, and then at the end we'll give an overall score. Our first category is idea/premise, just kind of talking about the whole overall idea of the movie, as well as was it a good setup for things like this. And then, with this being a sequel, it's a little hard, but, we'll kind of get into more detail as we go. So
I gave this section an 8 out of 10. I loved getting the Emperor in there early. Loved it. First scene, right off the bat, boom, there's the stakes. This is the big bad. This is what's happening. He's pulling the strings. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. A lot of movies like this have the tendency to like, ooh, I'm going to try to figure out what's happening. And
yeah,
then,
you don't see the
boom,
real.
and then he comes in. I love dropping Kylo there at that planet and letting him. I loved it. I love the Snoke thing. Did you see the Snoke clones when he walked in?
Yeah.
Man.
Is that what those were? Were clones?
Yeah.
They had like multiple versions of them.
I wondered what that
like
was.
A scene from like Aliens 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
You see all that.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's like,
I love the Darth Vader talking in his head. I love the Snoke talking in his head. I love the Emperor's lines. I love the way he said his lines. I loved how dark it was.
He was creepy looking.
He was awesome. I love Palpatine. Anyways, one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. But so for me, man, that first 5 minutes was like, whoa, this movie's it's got legs. It's got potential. It's gonna be going places as long as this dude's around. And you knew that's where everything was gonna end up in the end. So for me, that was a huge part of the setup. A huge part of the premise was getting him back involved.
Yeah.
I loved the Rey and Leia training stuff. I'm not a big fan of Leia, typically. I don't know why. She just, for me, never really did it. But I did like her training Rey. I liked her slowly kind of showing more and more leadership, more and more force sensitivity, force ability. We see the flashback of Luke and her fighting with the lightsabers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, Leia's lightsaber comes in later. So I liked that part. I think that was a cool little scene. For me, the first 15 or 20 minutes of this movie were pretty solid. The premise overall, as far as the idea behind the movie, like you said, it's hard to judge sequels.
Right, because it's not really an original idea.
It's not an original idea. So for me, that's why I gave it an 8, because it's not necessarily like he didn't take any big, bold risks with this movie, which I don't think he needed to. I think he did a great job with this movie as far as overall. But for me, for me giving it a 9 or a 10 for this section, it's just not really, I don't think it earned it. I think an 8's a solid score, and like I said, I think that first 5 minutes for me, I was hooked. As soon as that dude showed up and you could start hearing, whew, man, I was in
the first battle.
I was in.
Where Kylo's just like dominating some people.
Yeah, in the woods.
Yeah. I was like, dude, this is.
Yeah, I mean, it was legit. I was in. I literally, some people, I read some reviews. They're like, it took me like 30, 45 minutes to get into this movie. I was like, what are y'all smoking, dude? I was in.
Yeah.
As soon as the movie started, I was in. What do you think?
Even like the beginning scenes with Poe and Finn, and
that's true.
That hooked me too. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Conrad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I gave this a 9.
Nice.
Yeah, dude.
I'm pretty jazzed about it today. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So I just saw it, a few hours ago, and kind of like you guys were saying in the previous episode, overall, all these theories aside, I just really hope this movie is good and doesn't just.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I just don't want it to stink, man.
No doubt.
Because there's so much pressure on that.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And overall, here's another thing. I don't know if you guys ever watched the show Lost.
Uh-huh.
But
a little bit.
Lost was a big deal. I remember I saw like the pilot episode and I was like, oh, well, I'm hooked watching this until it's done.
Uh-huh.
And so every week for however long, 6-7 years, I'm watching that. And it had a way, it was all, J.J. Abrams' project.
Right.
Yeah. And it was kind of the first really well-written show after a writer's strike that had happened. And so it changed things to more of that series kind of a thing and less episodic.
Yeah,
I feel like that's where things got really good in serials.
Yeah.
And J.J. Abrams would do this thing where he'd always end on like a cliffhanger.
Right.
And so you're always like, what? And so he did a pretty good job of answering that question in the next episode or soon. But then he would ask 2 more questions.
So he would leave on a cliffhanger for this episode, and the first 5 minutes, the next one, he'd answer that, and you're like, well, that was boring. You're like, oh, by the way, here's 3 more problems they have to figure out.
And so they would kind of build you to ask like 2
doubt.
more questions, but you'd only answer one of them, and then the next episode answer only one of those and ask 3 more questions. Pretty soon they're all building up, and by the time you're on like episode 50, you got like 50 questions that are unanswered. Yeah. And so in that final season of Lost, there was no way to please everybody. Right. And I felt like this was a little bit like that. Like, here's this final episode of the Skywalker saga.
Right.
How can we possibly please everybody? He did a pretty good job of
totally
looking at everything, every loose end, trying to wrap up all these questions that had been raised in the last 2 movies and in the last 8.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it made it, pretty intense.
Yeah.
Another good thing about script writing, a lot of times, some of my favorite movies are suspense movies, and you kind of are just left kind of figuring it out for yourself. Because this movie had so much questions to answer and so many gaps to fill in, it didn't have a lot of time for that. This was like 90% exposition. So I can see why some people will go into it and just be like, you're just constantly just rattling off information, and it's a lot to take in.
Right.
And instead of like, kind of prompting you to be curious about what's next or what's this guy thinking or something. It's the opposite pacing of a Mandalorian episode.
Right.
Like
No doubt.
Mandalorian, you're like, what's he thinking behind that mask? And in this one, it's just like everybody says what they think and what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
See, for me, I totally agree. I would have, as a Star Wars fan, would have sat through a Lord of the Rings style 3.5 hour movie for this, for episode 9. I totally understand the marketing side of things. Like, if you make this movie longer than it is, it just will not make money.
Right.
And it will not be successful the way they want it to be. But I don't know. Like, if they ever make like a extended edition bonus whatever thing, I'm buying it and I'm watching all of it, because I probably would have watched this movie for 3, 4, 5 hours. Like, no joke. Like, if for me as a storyteller, you have as long as you need to tell this story. And I don't think they took enough time. And I agree. I think the speed of it and the exposition side of it, I totally agree. But he was dealt an extremely difficult hand, and I think he played it really, really well overall.
I feel like he must have had a lot of input too. Like, this is the result of a lot of people saying, here's what I really want to see. Kind of like what you guys have done with this. Here's what I hope I see. Here's what I want to see.
No doubt.
Here's what has to happen.
No doubt.
And a fair amount of that went into each character that's built in this.
Yeah.
But another thing you were talking about is, the Emperor at the beginning.
Yeah.
Just in the original scroll, here's the setup for the story.
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey, the Emperor's voice has been heard on transmissions all over the place. And I was like, whoa, that's a big deal to just like come out of the gates like that, right? And then pretty soon it's time to go. Rey's gonna be upset about it. Leia's sending spies out to look for the Emperor, and Kylo's mad because he doesn't want it. And I was like, okay, good, just lay it out.
It was a good, and
that's actually very Star Wars, because if you even look at original Episode 4. They're just like, hey, here's what's going on in the galaxy.
No doubt.
But I think this is the first time I remember seeing a movie that was like almost in that aspect self-aware of its own trailer, because I only watched the first trailer. Like, when was that? Back in May or something. And I was like, no more.
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch any more trailers. I'm already sold on the movie.
Right.
I didn't want any spoilers, because if I see a scene so much as like the background of a planet or something, it's already filling in too many gaps for me. I don't want to know. So I was like trying to shut that down for the whole year.
Yeah.
And then to know that, like, okay, I've heard the Emperor's laugh at the end. Okay, so he's going to be in it.
No doubt.
In some aspect.
Right.
Whether he's a Force ghost or whatever, he's going to be there. And
I was so glad he was not a Force ghost.
I know, right? Because it's supposed to be Jedi exclusive, right?
That made me so happy.
So, but at the same time, I'm preparing my daughters for this. As we're talking about Star Wars leading up to it, I was like, well, maybe the Emperor could come back. I'm like being careful with them, so they don't just walk in and they're like talking to me through the whole movie, like, what? He's supposed to be dead. So I feel like answered enough questions to keep some of that at bay. But no, I liked it.
Paul?
So I agree 100% with everything that was said. I also gave the section an 8. Again, just kind of based off of the, hard to do that with a sequel kind of thing. But also, for me, one of the few, in my opinion, downfalls of this movie was the first maybe 30 minutes to an hour of just, trying to cram all this stuff in there.
Yeah.
And, like, I do feel like I agree with you of the marketing and not being able to make it a 3-hour movie, things like that. But I mean, like, you saw what Endgame did. Yeah. They bumped that up to 3 hours and made $1 billion. Like,
yeah.
So
no, you're 100% right. I just think Star Wars fans are different.
I agree. I'm not saying like I agree with you saying I wish I would have seen. I would watch 3 hours of this easily.
Return of the King, man, 4 hours. Sit me up. I'm in,
dude. Man. Yeah. So
no doubt.
But yeah, so that's why I kind of docked it. I don't really have anything to add with what you guys said. You guys hit it on the head. Love the beginning of it. Because it really because it kind of set up, like the scroll set up the Emperor Palpatine. We saw Emperor Palpatine within the first 10 minutes.
No doubt.
Leia has sent out spies. We see Finn, Poe, and Chewie on the Falcon with the light speed skipping, which was cool. Stinking insane.
That was cool.
And then, it talks about Rey training with Leia and everything. And I was like, and then we see Rey. I was like, it was a perfect setup.
Yeah.
Even like you said, just in the scroll, which I thought was really, really awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they set it up in a really good way, really convincing and interesting way, and it led toward which we're about to talk about character. But
yeah,
for me, it just was a launch pad, and it sent all those characters in the direction that they needed to go, and it developed them all almost perfectly. So the next section we talk about is character. We'll just dive right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
For me, man, this was the strongest section of the movie. I gave this section a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
I thought this was the perfect movie for all of these characters. Like, it was Kylo's best movie, it was Rey's best movie, it was Finn's best movie, it was Poe's best movie, it was Leia's best movie, it was C-3PO's best movie. I'm not going to say it was Palpatine's best movie, necessarily, but for me, all those characters I just listed, it was their best movie.
Yeah.
And
I'll give it that.
Man, it was awesome. And it was fun to watch Poe develop and Finn develop and Rey develop and Kylo. I mean, they all just kind of came full circle, man. It was fun to watch. So for me, the characters were impressive, and it was awesome. I loved the combination of callbacks to old characters while adding new characters. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. With adding new characters, how are they going to have time to add new characters? I didn't feel like there was a new character who had more than 5 or 10 minutes of screen time.
Right. Like Zori.
Right. She was on screen for, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes.
And I actually really enjoyed her character.
I thought she was a fun addition to the show.
And there was not a whole lot of Rose.
And so Rose was not. Rose was in the background.
Why are you guys hating on Rose, man?
He and Luke hate Rose. I didn't
Rose.
I didn't mind Rose that much, but they hated on her. So I liked the little alien. The little
Babu Frick.
Dude, he was funny, man.
Yeah.
He was really funny.
I feel like
I love that he came back at the end, was like on like the window. He's like, "Hey guys,"
He's like, "What's up?"
That was amazing. That was funny.
But why
dude.
do I get the feeling that like at
really
J.J.
funny.
Abrams' house they've been saying Babu Frick for a long time,
No
just
doubt.
using it differently, like Babu Frick.
No doubt.
I don't know.
Right.
It's, just like, it's such a weird thing to
great
say.
character. What? Okay, so he was speaking English half the time,
Yeah.
and the other half the time he was speaking some weird language, but his other language sounded like broken English.
Yeah.
And so whenever he was speaking, I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's speaking English!" Like the droid is no good, and I was like, "What?"
Star Wars has always had a little bit of that, where
No
their
doubt.
alien species kind of seem like, oh, I know what part of the world this is from. Like they seem a little bit like an Earth.
Jabba the Hutt kind of
area.
sounds like he's speaking English sometimes. Yeah. So for me, that was a great section for me. It was so strong, well-rounded, well-developed. Loved Lando and the old guys coming back around.
Yes.
Loved the new guys. So I was in 100% for all of it. Great stuff.
Lando.
Love Lando.
Billy D, man.
And that's the one thing I saw on that trailer originally, and I was like, I'm sold. Like,
that Lando was back.
I think Lando should have his own movie, man.
Yeah, this is one of those things. I was just so happy. Yeah. Oh man. So okay, me for characters.
Yes, sir.
You know, I wrote down a 9, but I'm bumping it up to 10.
Let's
after you talk about it. It
go.
was so
Let's
good.
go. It was so good.
Really, because it was such a great character arc on so many of them, and I didn't know what they were going to do with Leia. Of course, I spent sleepless nights trying to figure that one out after she passed away.
Yeah.
So sad.
Right.
So
They did a great job
untimely.
with her. Great job with her.
I thought that they would do. Here's the one character they didn't do much with, and I think they made the right decision. But I thought they would do more with Lieutenant Connix, played by Billy Lord, who was actually Carrie Fisher's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow I thought that they were working her character up through these movies, that maybe she would get promoted to general in a situation like this. And I thought that would be just like a nice thing to say, like, "Hey, we like you, and your mom was cool."
I kind of I agree with that, because like she had the same hair, and even at the end, like where they all come back and everything, I think she's wearing like the same thing that Leia wore on Endor, because she's wearing like the same like poncho kind of thing. I was like, that was a really missable detail. So I'm but
I'm glad they
that's just
did
kind
it,
of a
though.
fun thing.
I think that would have been a little too forced.
Yeah.
But she was a fun little side character.
yeah,
But of course, like the character arc for like Rey especially is probably the most important.
No doubt.
Sure.
And all through the end, you're just kind of like, what is going to happen here and stuff. And they did a really good job.
But man, I
with
loved
just kind of like honoring what she'd been told. Hey, 1,000 generations of Jedi live in you now, and like, how do you play that out? Well, they did a great job, I think, playing that out.
No doubt.
Of course, I'd been talking to my daughters about, well, Rey might have a little trouble choosing good, because there's going to be some dark times, and she has to try to not go to the dark side, because that's really the best kind of character story of any Jedi coming of age kind of story. And then I said to them, and of course she was trying to turn Kylo to good, so hopefully that happens, but we don't know yet. So just trying to play it up there. I honestly didn't know what was going to happen, so here I'm kind of crossing my fingers too.
Yeah.
I was really happy with the way that they wrote that in. Another character, I wish I'd seen more of Chewie. Honestly, he's such a great character.
Did you think he died whenever he died?
Totally.
At first I did.
You thought he died?
They got me. Like, I was like, there's something weird about the way this was shot. And at the same time, I was like, don't tell me they killed off
Whenever
Chewie.
he
Dude,
died,
they straight up got me.
Really?
For sure.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah, were you ready to walk out?
Well, I wasn't ready to walk out, but I did. I was like, I cry only in Star Wars movies. I was like, oh my God, did they really just? I had utter surprise on my
That's crazy.
face.
I was 0%.
Oh no,
I was like,
convinced.
there is no way Chewie died in that lame way.
Yeah, it was still shot in such a weird way because you don't actually see him get arrested or anything. He's just like over there.
I was like, that is the lamest thing I've ever seen before. So for me, I thought that was like their way of saying, hey guys, Chewie's expendable. He's going to die this movie. We almost took him away right there. He's going to die later. That was what so whenever that happened, I was like, oh snap. Like that to me was like, this is their way of
preparing you.
That's what I thought was going to happen. I was not even fooled for a second.
No, when he survived that, I was like, Chewie never dies.
Oh, see, so I thought
ever.
Anyway,
250 years old, man.
Yeah,
that was one of the coolest scenes in any Star Wars movie ever.
Where
the shuttle takes off and she goes and just catches it. I was
my
like,
jaw dropped.
I was literally like,
yeah.
Did you guys see that? Are we all watching this at the same time? Because that is literally one of the most powerful things I've ever seen happen. And then the lightning, I was like, holy crap. Which then looking back, obviously, like, the lightning. I mean, come on, guys.
And speaking of the character development on that, like, to show why she did that. It wasn't like she just got distracted or something. Like, she gets mad in the moment and she loses it.
So good.
And so they've done so much to, like, show how, like, even when she's training and then Kylo's messing with her while she's training and she knows it. Yeah. And this is something that's like her regular day. And she doesn't tell Leia about it like, hey, Kylo is in my head. But I feel like they're in each other's heads there a little bit and they can't help it. Another character, though, to lighten things up a little bit, 3PO's cracking me up.
Okay, dude. This is 3PO's best movie, in my opinion.
I agree.
In my opinion. He's like legit annoying most of the time. And he's supposed to be, and he's supposed to be annoying. This movie was the perfect balance of comedy and annoying. Like, he was annoying, no doubt, but he was like really funny.
So
the moment I knew it was going to be his best movie was when they land on the desert planet, the forbidden sand, whatever, and he's like, yeah, it's known for its kites and delicious treats. And they all turn around and look at him, and then he's like, he turns around. He's like, "Is there somebody else behind me?"
See, my favorite part.
I was like, "That's the best."
I was laughing so. My daughter was laughing at that part.
My
She's
favorite,
6 and she got that. She was like, he thought he was looking at somebody else.
My favorite C-3PO line was when they were in the tunnels underneath the like sand that they fell through. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, Captain Dameron, I'm fine. In case you were wondering or whatever."
He's like, "You didn't call my name, but I'm fine."
He's like, "You didn't call my name." That was funny,
so
dude.
good.
That was good.
So
Dude,
good. And even just little stuff like
he
was like, what was it? He's like, "You're an excellent pilot," or whatever. And he was like,
"You're a terrible
good
pilot.
job, sir.
You're a
terrible job,
You're doing a terrible job."
Yeah, he says, "Great job, sir." He's terrible job, sir.
Oh, it was good.
Oh yeah,
I loved his little connection with all the droids. I think he just kind of like he's the only one who can talk,
right?
And so he's like the voice of the others. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Little
you know who did the voice of Dio?
The cone shape.
I meant to look it up.
J.J. Abrams.
Is it really?
Yeah. I wondered.
That's funny.
That's another case where he wrote himself in, but he did a good job.
No doubt.
That's funny.
He's, teaching the kids to be polite.
I was man.
No, thank you.
No doubt.
That cracked me up too.
Yeah. I loved. So Lando gets his thing, Leia gets her thing, Han comes back, and Luke gets his Force Ghost scene. So to me, those 4 callbacks, which I wasn't a callback, I guess, to get Leia in there because she was already in there, but the 3 callbacks, and then you add in some new characters. You kind of build up their characters you've been building this whole trilogy on. For me, it's got to be a 10 out of 10. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I had a 9, but I agree with Conrad. Because I was kind of pushing it off as a 9 for a little bit of the side characters, but the more we talked about it, like, no, the side characters were great. I mean, even the Allegiant General Pride.
Yeah, he was good.
I was like, I really enjoyed his character. Of because the whole time when I first saw that he was cast, I was really hoping he was going to be cast as Grand Admiral Thrawn. Because he just looks perfectly. Yes. I was like, this dude could play Thrawn. But one of the things that I really appreciated was that he immediately knew that Hux was the spy when he came in hurt.
Yeah.
That was a very Thrawn thing.
Did you guys foresee?
He was so smart.
Did y'all foresee Hux being the spy?
No.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I mean, really? It was like I was thinking about too many other things.
He took the blaster away, and I was like, bro, he's the spy.
Okay, the moment he took the blaster away, I got it. Well, but like before that,
before that, I had
no clue at all.
Yeah. I didn't even care. I was like, okay, there's a spy, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, how cool was that?
I thought it was funny because he was like, I'm a spy, guys. Hey, how cool am I?
And they were like, what?
And then you shoot me, and he's like, oh my gosh, my leg. And then you're like, oh, this guy's still lame and really like weak. And then he goes and gets shot, and I was like, poor guy. Like, he just never had like a cool moment.
Well, he wrote himself off when he said, his motives. He's like, I don't care if you win. I just need Kylo.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, whenever I think of his character, all I think of is Kylo just like freaking like using the Force and just smoking him up against like the wall and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that guy was just kind of.
The thing that I always remember about him is his Adolf Hitler moment in Force Awakens, where he's like the big old speech, and they all go. He's
like screaming.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
that's the interesting thing about the First Order in these movies. It's like it rises from the ashes. There's always been this theme of like Nazi Germany in Star Wars originally too.
Yeah.
You look at that and you're like, okay, well that's clearly a parallel to the Nazis. But in actual Hitler was a POW in World War One,
right?
And it, like spurred all that stuff in him to make him pretty awful. He wanted revenge. Why does Germany get to start 2 world wars? And then here it was like it's happening in Star Wars. It's the second one. It's the First Order. It reminds me of the Third Reich.
Yeah.
But they're all young guys like that, right? I remember being like, okay, you got like Kylo and General Hux. These are relatively young guys compared to all the old guys from Star Wars,
from the Empire,
original movies, and so that was actually a cool thing to see here. He's talking to General Pride, the Emperor's talking to General Pride, and he's like, "Yes, like the old days."
I served you.
And you were like, "What? This is getting scary. The old guys are back." These guys know what they're doing.
That fleet was awesome.
Oh my goodness,
that was legit awesome. Okay,
let's jump into plot. Now. I feel like we're
final thoughts on character. Anybody? Anything?
There was. Did you catch Wedge's little?
I loved Wedge's appearance.
Yes,
that was great.
Good flying, Lando.
I wish he would have had 1 or 2 more lines, but that was good.
That was funny.
I liked his comeback. I liked what's his name? I'll think of it. Y'all go ahead.
I'll say this.
I mean, a lot of the callback characters I love. Go ahead. Sorry.
There was an interview I saw with George Lucas years and years ago, and when he was talking about just Star Wars in general, and he kind of dropped a bomb on the interviewer, and he said, well, the whole thing is actually R2's story. Like, R2's the narrator. The droids are the narrators of Star Wars. Like, and they were kind of like, what? But yes, I mean, they're set up as like this slave class of people. So it takes me back to like Huck Finn days or whatever. And at the same time, they are like the most important characters for carrying on this story. And then so you get to like Return of the Jedi, and finally you see some validity to 3PO, and he gets to tell the Ewoks the story, and he basically recruits them. They wouldn't have won the Battle of Endor without him being able to communicate that story well, right? But then finally you come again around, and then they're always like, don't underestimate a droid and stuff, and they do all this cool little stuff, and sure enough, finally 3PO does some cool stuff,
right?
And it's cracking me up with the code and everything. And he's like, I can't, no, it's against my programming.
And
then
like,
I got one more idea. Hang on, click.
Yes. Well, there's one. Or the when like right after Chewie dies, and they're like, he had the dagger, and then C-3PO's like, oh yeah, if I didn't have it in my memory banks, we'd be screwed. And they're like, what?
But just I love that
one. C-3PO even talks about like, is this the afterlife? Are we allowed here now?
Oh yeah, are droids allowed here? Yeah.
Like just little things like
Yeah.
that. Like, oh, my memory's gonna be wiped. I guess I'll go back to being whatever in my normal droid self.
They did so good with
It's
some of that.
just-
It's just, I love the
funny.
droids and this funny stuff, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it does like carries the story on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no doubt.
And it's cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if the droids weren't there, a lot of crap wouldn't have been able to happen.
No doubt.
I remember seeing toys come out for Dio, and I was like, new droid again, whatever. And I think they did a good job. He's a funny
Dio
little
was
guy.
pretty
every
cool.
new droid, you're like, oh my gosh, another droid. You're like, I actually like that droid. He's kind of
Yeah.
funny.
And thanks
I love
again
how
to R2 for backing up the memories.
Yeah,
No doubt.
exactly.
Spoilers.
I love how they
Chopper's one
all
of my
get
favorite
smaller.
droids.
Dude,
of all
Chopper's
time.
so funny.
I love
Oh,
Chopper.
Chopper
He's a
is-
great droid.
Dave Filoni is the
Yeah.
voice of Chopper.
Yeah, I love Chopper. I also love the droid from Rogue One.
Yep. K2SO
K2.
K2SO. But
is
yeah,
my
dude,
favorite droid.
that's what I'm saying. Like every Star Wars story has a droid, and you're
Yeah.
like, another droid, and you're like, no, I actually like that character a lot.
And
Yeah.
that's
You watch
Alan
so
Tudyk.
you watch Solo, like that droid's like another droid.
L3.
Yeah, L3, and you're like,
That's
oh my
the
gosh.
brain of the.
Yeah.
And she's like super sassy and annoying, and
Yeah,
like
we didn't
Droid
get to talk to L3
Rebellion
this time. I was hoping L3 might come through a little bit this time because I know she's still in there.
and the Falcon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's still like the navigational brain.
It's like your ship has such a peculiar dialect. Finally, we
Yes.
found out why.
No doubt. Good
But
stuff.
yeah, and that's just sidelight. I'm really excited about Disney Plus making a Cassian series. So they're going to do a
I
heard
series
about
of
that.
Cassian
That'll
and
be cool.
K2SO, and so
That'll
I'm
be
like
really
really
cool.
crossing my fingers on that because I love
Yeah, I hope that
Alan
one's good
Tudyk
too.
is a great actor, funny.
Okay, so the next section we have is plot. For me, the plot was the weakest section. I'm not necessarily saying it was bad. It's just the lowest section I had. I gave it a 7. I said it was a little weak because it had to fill in the gaps of episode 8.
Yes.
So it spent a lot of time. Hey, here's how this makes sense. Here's how this makes sense. Here's how this makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was just like, man, like Ryan
And
Johnson just did not do any favors for J.J. Abrams in that side of things. I'm not saying episode 8's as bad as people think, but I do think that was the biggest weakness in this movie was all of the catch-up it had to do
Yeah.
for the last movie. A couple other things on plot real quick. I said it's a little slow in the middle. I loved the reveal of her being a Palpatine.
Yes.
Loved that. I thought that was awesome. Literally, my whole
Yeah.
theater went. Every
That's
person.
funny.
It was amazing. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't.
You don't see movies with a lot of people and everyone has the same emotional response in that moment.
Yeah.
It's very rare. I mean, it has to be.
Star
a very
Wars has done it the last 2 times though.
Star Wars
Yeah.
and Marvel. I mean, literally, I can't think of any other movie I've seen in the last 5 years, other than Star Wars and Marvel, that a collective group of people all have the same reaction to something that audibly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That was-
I think it's part of the fan base. I think it's part of the movie, part of the story. But literally, my whole thing goes like, and I did too. I literally was like, I thought she was a nobody. I thought she was a Kenobi. I thought she was a Skywalker. I thought she
Yeah.
might have been a Solo somehow, some
Yeah.
weird freaking way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Literally, the only thing I hadn't like not even thought about was her being a Palpatine.
Yeah.
And they go, "You're a Palpatine." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So to me, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I love
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's so much.
I
so
prepared
good.
my daughters for that a little bit on the way to the movie too.
Really?
We were talking about the potential for Dark Ray,
Yeah.
and I was getting into that, and so then I said, she could be really upset about some things. She could be really mad. And so one of the things I said, she might be really mad if she finds out that one of her parents is a bad guy, like one of the baddest guys.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how it was going to go.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even when that came out, I was like, oh, that's so cringy. And at the same time, it really occurred to me when I was watching episode 3 last year, and they were talking about, there's this theory that, some people consider it just straight canon, that Palpatine is the creator of Anakin.
That he,
in
like,
Shmi's
used-
womb.
That is canon.
Right.
Used midichlorians.
But is it? Or is it Plagueis that created Anakin? There's just a little bit of iffy there. But it's Palpatine.
Yeah.
And which also makes it a little creepy, because that makes Palpatine a father or grandfather and a great-grandfather of Kylo and Rey.
Yes.
So...
I made that connection too, that I was like,
Yeah.
And yet, you got this princes and queens and princes and stuff. And that's how it used to be in old Europe, Everybody was like his first cousin. So they'd get married and you're just like,
funny.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Uh,
Okay, we're going there.
it was a little... but if what had happened right after that hadn't happened, we would probably be hearing a lot more about it. Yeah, like...
Yes.
Because, again, spoilers,
Yes.
they do the whole kiss thing. And in the moment... The first time I saw it, because again, I've seen it twice, I rolled my eyes so hard when they kissed because I knew they were related somehow.
Yes.
I did not want that. And then he died, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm good with it now.
I liked the kiss. I liked it.
I
I don't like kissing very much in movies. I liked it.
I think it fit.
I
think it fit for who they were and what they had done with those characters, and they had this connection to each other, and at the same time they hated each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they just hated the worst things in each other, and they liked the best things about each other. And if you go kind of watch that character arc, it made sense, and yet it was still super cringy.
She calls him Ben for the first time.
Yeah. The second time I watched it, I was like, okay, I'm fine with this now.
I was actually sad when he died.
I was a little
sad.
yeah.
Because, okay, in my mind, we're kind of jumping ahead, but in my mind, I'm like, the Rise of Skywalker. Okay. They kiss.
Yeah.
Gonna get married. Lots of babies. Skywalkers. Let's go. And then he dies. I was like, what the heck?
No, honestly, I
dumped on your plan.
I was legit like, where'd all the Skywalkers go?
Towards the end there, my final theory was really like, okay, Rey's gonna die, and
that's what I thought.
Ben is
he's
gonna
the
be
Rise
good
of
again.
Skywalker. That's exactly what I
And
thought.
he'll be the hero. And
that was my first thought, and then she came back, and I was like, "Oh, baby, here we go. They're kissing. Lots of babies. Let's go. Lots of Skywalkers." And then he died, and I was like, "Freaking both my theories out the window."
And yet, it's the end of the Skywalker saga.
I know.
So I was like, people
what
gotta
the
die.
hell? I was like, literally, why call a movie The Rise of Skywalker? Anyway,
awesome.
What'd y'all give plot?
So I gave it an 8.
Nice.
I did enjoy it a great deal. I thought the plot was satisfying as both a Star Wars fan for nostalgia reasons, but again, it also tied up a lot of things. Also kind of dookied on a couple of things from Episode 8 that I appreciated in a nice way, like when Dominic Gyllenhaal or whatever, Mary from Lord of the Rings' character is like brings up the Holdo maneuver, and Finn's like, "Oh, that's risky. It doesn't."
It's one in a million.
I was like, "Thank you." I was like, but a lot of the other things of like the whole Palpatine thing, I loved that because it did instill that her parents really were nobodies. They weren't Jedi or they weren't Sith. They were, but it was a generation back. So it was the big deal.
It was both. She was a nobody, and she was somebody.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's still a big hole there. Like, how does the Emperor have this son who escapes him somehow? They managed to hide themselves.
I don't think he necessarily escaped because for whatever reason, I don't think he was Force sensitive.
Okay,
and I think he was legitimately a nobody because he even says. At the end of the movie, he says, your parents were weak or your parents were whatever.
He called them weak.
And I think by his terminology, I think weak to him is they
didn't have Force sensitive.
Right. So his children weren't having this thing, and so he was like, whatever, I'm going to have to go make my own.
Then he found out about Rey, and I think he was like, oh, snap, like that is...
But also, what is the timeline on that guy? Because I was like, I wish her parents were older. Because you don't really meet the Emperor as a young man. You meet him when he's pretty old in episode 1.
I would assume
he's already seems like he's in his 60s or something in episode 1.
I would assume, at least for me, I would say he's in his, I don't know, 50s, mid-50s, early to mid-50s in episode 1.
So to take this back to like Rey's parentage, those people seemed like they were at least as young as Luke, if not younger. And so that's why I'm saying like
in the movie.
Like Rey's parents in the
movie.
movie. So, like, just timeline-wise, I was like, I kind of just wish those were older people when they had Rey.
Yeah. Like, it just didn't quite make sense.
The timeline was just like, who is with the Emperor? But I can't expect him to have, all these consensual relationships. It just was really horrible, actually.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah,
it's an interesting thought.
Yeah. Who drew the short straw on that one? Is that his mom?
I was hoping they would explain more about Snoke and more about how he actually survived.
Yeah.
I think they did a lot of explaining by the fingers being like gone.
Right. I mean, he's hooked up to the machine.
Being in that machine that like moves him around. And
yes.
I think they did a lot of explaining without actually explaining anything.
Yeah.
which was nice. I think they didn't have to
Yeah.
say like I escaped on this escape pod. You know, I don't
Right, yeah. I
have
don't
to say
think they
that.
needed to do
Yeah.
much with that.
For a minute, I thought that would be a clone situation, like he had cloned himself
Yeah.
and then somehow
I'm glad it
transferred his spirit or something weird.
I'm glad
Yeah.
it wasn't anything like that.
because that would be, that'd be a stretch.
Yeah. Oh, well, because then what if there's like 7 million clones? You know, you got
Yes.
got an
Right.
Ultron situation
Yeah.
going.
Everybody in the throne room there takes out their hood and they're all the emperor.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
right.
come on.
Yeah, that was my brother's first question when we left. He's like, "So did all those Sith die, or Episode 10?" And I was like, "Oh my
Well,
gosh."
they can't technically be Sith. They're just Sith supporters.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
the
So-
minions.
They're just fans.
I heard that they were, or I heard a little theory on a video I watched today that they were ghosts. They were the Sith ghosts.
Oh,
All of the like old
the
Sith.
thousands of
The-
Sith.
Yeah, all of the Sith that lived in him were them.
So they weren't actually real.
So they weren't actually people.
I like that theory. I mean, it's better
Cinematically,
than-
they did a great job of wiping those guys out without it
Oh,
being
yeah.
gory, by the way. Like, things are exploding, rocks are flooding through.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, those guys are gone. But at the same time, you didn't have to, like,
didn't have
Watch
to
it
them
get guy get
squished.
smashed.
Yeah, no doubt.
it wasn't like
Well,
a
they
sea
never
of
showed
orcs.
them very well. You know,
Right.
it was really dark and
Yeah, you just saw their
like
hoods.
flashes of light.
Yeah. No, that made it scarier.
Did
I
y'all
liked it.
notice the attention at the very beginning of the movie for the epilepsy stuff? I've never seen that before in a movie.
The what?
There was like a whole screen right before the movie started. It was like attention, warning. For,
Oh, that was not at.
really?
I saw
never
it at,
seen that before.
Well, I knew that Disney like a week before, like last week, they made a release that warning, epilepsy, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, they showed that like at the theater. It was,
No,
like,
they didn't
in
show
the
that
video.
at our
Yeah.
theater. Interesting.
They should release a version without that.
Without the lightning. No lightning allowed.
It's like we got gluten free over here. Here's the
Here's
the no flashy version.
The lightning free
Gluten
version.
free.
That really takes away from the climax of the movie.
Yeah, well, it would just be for those people. I
What
think
did you
it
give
should
the
be
plot?
there. I gave the plot a 9. Oh, I'm sorry, I gave the plot an 8. And same kind of stuff you guys have been talking about. You know, it's like really harkens back to what I was saying about exposition earlier, where it's just like there was so much to cover.
Yeah.
Some of it was just like drink from the fire hose situation, or it's just
Yeah.
like here's the info.
No doubt.
Everybody just says
Let me
what they're
explain
about
this
to
to
do.
you guys for the next 15 minutes. And then let me explain this to you guys.
So-
Yeah, which, I mean, like I said earlier, he's put in a bad situation. So I think he handled it really well, though.
But overall, I still liked it. You know, it's a
No
solid
doubt.
score. But like, sometimes I was just a little too aware of like how fast and how much we had to cover and how just everything was just off.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, conflict, tension, and urgency is our fourth section, which kind of just combine all those three things into one. But
Yeah.
for me, the conflict was awesome as far as the internal conflict between inside of Rey, the internal conflict inside of Kylo, the conflict between the two of them, obviously the conflict with Palpatine. And so I think the conflict was amazing. Absolutely amazing. The tension was pretty solid in a lot of those scenes. Really, really strong. The urgency for me was a little lacking in moments. I gave this section an 8 out of 10. I thought the urgency picked up big time at the end, for sure. Like, once the final order went out, it's like, oh, baby, like, we're going. It's a countdown kind of thing. Like, once these ships get out of here, we're done for. But until then, for me, the urgency thing was kind of like
Okay. You gave it a what? I'm sorry.
an 8.
Okay.
The tension's kind of same way. For me, they made a conscious effort to go for comedy in
Okay.
a lot of moments that took
To cut
away
tension.
strategically. For me personally, for an ultimate finale movie like this, you gotta keep that tension there.
Yeah.
For longer spells. I'm not saying it needs to be like The Dark Knight and it's just like we're going for 2.5 hours. I'm not
Right.
saying that. I like the jokes. I like the comedy. But for me at least, you gotta have some solid tension for extended periods of time. And I liked the comedy. I think they tried to go Marvel with that kind of throwing a joke every 5-10 minutes, just keep people interested, keep people entertained. For me personally, that kind of took away from this specific section a little bit. That's
Okay.
why I gave it an 8.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Kinda.
I gave it an 8 as well.
Ooh.
Honestly, I think the conflict was great.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of tension. I also felt like, overall, I still knew it would have to end on a good note. I mean,
Right. Has to.
Yeah.
that's the difference between movies and sports or whatever. In
Right.
sports, the bad guys win sometimes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's
No
just
doubt.
how it is.
No doubt.
But in a popcorn movie, the good guys are gonna
well,
win
and
somehow.
it's the last one. Emperor can't win.
Right.
Right.
You know? Man, that would have been great.
Can you imagine if the Emperor would have
How
won?
did we think of that?
People just like walk out of the theater, just like head down, crying, just like, well, I guess Star Wars is over now.
The lightning comes
the
out and it's just
Emperor-
over in like 2 seconds.
Emperor wins. You're just like, so the moral of Star Wars is
Bad guys win.
Choose the
Bad
dark
guys
side.
always win.
Like what? Like that would have been like the ultimate plot twist.
So you kind of knew how it was gonna go.
No doubt.
But like also, I was just so consciously aware of the pacing, and yet it was a lot of tension, a lot of good stuff going on. But it took me out of a little bit to just feel how much they were kind of pushing it. Like, hey, we got to wrap this thing up, and so here's all this stuff. So that knocked it down just a little bit. But overall, like, a lot of it, I was kind of on the edge of my seat. What's going to happen next and stuff. And they did a good job with sound design within that, because sometimes in those slow moments and stuff, you start to take a step back. But like that low rumble and then, it's just it's so many times it's just sound effects and score play into that as well. And I thought they actually did a pretty good job keeping the tension up.
Did you like the comedy kind of being dispersed in there?
You talk about comedy a little bit. I did. Like, I laughed a lot at 3PO and some of those things. And a few other things. And I actually like the comedy in this better than episode 8.
Me too.
It was a little forced last time.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when he's talking with Hux on the phone and all this stuff. But at the same time, I was like, this isn't Star Wars. This feels like a
especially at the beginning
TV show.
too.
Yeah. But at the same time, the comedy that was in like original trilogy of Star Wars was more character driven.
Yeah.
Like the kind of comedy that comes out of Harrison Ford is hilarious and awesome. And at the same time, it's part of the story. It's, it's just his face or his reaction.
Yeah.
Like
whenever they said,
who's scruffy looking?
They fly now? They fly now?
They fly now.
Like that was funny because it was 3PO. It was like, that's a very 3PO thing to say. And then Finn was like, oh my gosh, which is a very Finn thing to do.
Yeah.
And then Poe was like, they fly now. And that's a very Poe thing. You're like, well, I guess we just got to deal with it. It's like, to me, that was really funny because it was like, it got funnier as it progressed, but it was like, he would say that and he would say that. And I guess he would say that too.
And after all, you're thinking like, why not? Because Mandalorian's been flying around all over the place for a long time. Exactly. At some point, you're supposed to be like, give me one of those.
No doubt. And that was really cool. I like the jetpacks. Those were, that was fun.
That was cool.
And it was also cool to see why maybe they didn't fly before.
No doubt.
When you pop one of those guys, he just
he's
well,
it
that
becomes
one guy,
very dangerous.
I didn't like how high pitched that one guy's scream was. That bothered me for a little bit.
I got to go back and listen for Wilhelm. I don't think I actually heard the
Oh,
Wilhelm
I don't know
scream,
if I heard it
which
either.
is something I listen for at basically every movie that has anything to do with Skywalker sound.
Right.
But I'm sure it's in there.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
But yeah, I mean, overall plot, I thought it was great. But I was just a little more consciously aware, and part of that's just I'm a video producer by trade too, so I think about editing. I think about these decisions, and I never really want to see behind the set when I'm watching something. I want to get lost in it, and it's harder the more I do what I do for a living, because I'm still thinking about like, well, that probably took about 48 graphic designers to do that 3-second shot, But yeah, it
really
was
cool
good.
cut right there from this angle, that angle.
I need to watch it again too. Did they do a lot of wipes or anything like original Star Wars?
They had a couple.
They had a few.
They had a couple of the spinny ones.
Yeah,
the rotating ones.
The clock wipe is the best because it's like the passage of time.
They had a couple of those. I like that of Mandalorian. They have a bunch of those old school wipes on there.
Yes.
For me, man, the comedy was good, and it was the funniest Star Wars movie. Question mark? I don't know.
Maybe
that's an argument for another day.
I could see.
It was up there for sure. It was funny. Like I laughed probably like out loud like 6 or 7 times. Like I was chuckling, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think I like died laughing ever, but I was chuckling a couple times for sure.
Yeah.
But for me, like I don't know, man. I think they pushed that. Like, and I'm not saying any of their jokes were forced. Like they weren't. Like episode 8, there were like so many jokes. It was like, oh my gosh, you guys just give up. Like, it's not funny. Which is kind of how I feel about Ragnarok. But anyway, that's an argument for another time. I don't like Ragnarok, in case you didn't get that.
That's all right.
Most people do on this show, at least.
Right.
What did you think about the conflict, tension, urgency?
So I gave this section actually a 10.
Oh, wow.
Because I loved the conflict. The conflict is what drove it for me.
No doubt.
For
so
sure.
Good. So good.
Rey of like especially when she finds out she's a Palpatine.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, well, I'm bad now.
Oh, snap.
Like, psh, I'm just bad. Like,
Yeah.
forget the rest of this."
Right.
And even like right after that, you see she has that little moment of like, "He killed my mom and my dad. I'm gonna effing destroy him."
Yeah, I
you
found
know, like,
him. Now
she
I know
was
what to
like,
do.
Yeah.
"Psh, done." But then she goes back to Och 2. And then, she's like all this conflict of like, she's burning everything. She's pissed off and she's like, screw it, I'm done. But then she goes back and like, she's just, flip flopping so much, but it felt right. Like it felt natural. Like, whereas a lot of some of the other like Jedi stuff, like you felt like they were discouraged to get angry at all. Whereas like this, it was like when she got angry, it was like, yeah, you're kind of supposed to get angry occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how you react afterwards.
Yeah.
Right.
And I felt like they handled that really well.
Yeah, that was a great character arc.
Yeah.
So good. With Kylo, yeah, kind of the same thing. For me, I do agree tension was a little lackluster. Urgency, I disagree with, though, because, I mean, they set that precedent early of, like, we've got 16 hours to figure all this crap out, or we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Like, and the urgency of like, we got to find this wayfinder because we got 8 more hours to go before all these things launch. So I feel like urgency actually had a bit more of a part than tension.
Interesting.
And I will agree with a lot of the music, like in the tense scenes.
Yeah.
Like when they were doing like, she reaches out to pull the transport down. I was like, that was
awesome.
That was one of the points. But
Did it
like,
occur to you that
so
somebody
cool.
like Finn should just shoot Kylo in that moment?
No
like
doubt.
I was like, someone do something to Kylo. He's distracted.
Like, just distract
right.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But like, so that made it very tense because also like, I remember watching it and I was like, because again, similar with Conrad, I'm a music person. So I notice a lot of the music and I was like, this music sounds very evil. Like it's very dark and, impure. And then when she's like lightning strikes, I was like, oh, dang. Like, like, and it just made it tense. And like that happened a lot more like with the music making things a lot more tense. And so that's why I gave that section a 10 out of 10.
Man, what a great foreshadow that was too.
This movie had a lot, and you see it again, watching it the second time, there's a ton of foreshadowing that I obviously didn't see. Yeah. Like one of the things of, and we didn't really get into too much of this in the plot, but like when, with the healing thing where she first like kills Kylo and stabs him. One of the things that I noticed a lot with this movie is how never that I can think of have we seen a person carry their lightsaber upside down, like where they have it instead of going like this, they flip it over and have it like. But this happened a lot in the movie, and
they both chose to fight like that.
Yeah, they both did that a lot. But the first time it happens is at the very beginning of the movie when Kylo does it, and he gets a guy the same way that Rey got him, and I was like, dude, that's the same way he died. So tons of foreshadowing in this movie after watching it.
She heals that snake thing.
Yeah.
Before she heals Kylo.
That was so. I that has nothing to do with conflict, tension, and urgency. But like foreshadowing, there's a ton of foreshadowing that I didn't see the first time.
Yeah.
But like the whole lightning.
The lightning thing was awesome because you were like, holy crap. But then
Yeah.
it came back around. I was like, she's a Palpatine.
Yeah, has
lightning
his powers and
comes natural.
Yeah.
all this stuff. So yeah,
Okay, the fifth and final section for us is cinematic elements, which is kind of a combination of acting, directing, writing, CGI, music, kind of everything.
yeah,
For me, I gave this section a 9 out of 10. I loved the score. I loved the CGI. I thought the acting was fantastic.
yeah.
Honestly, the only reason I knocked it a point was because I thought the comedy was a little bit too much, just for me. I don't know why. Like, it just, like, it was funny. And I'm not even mad that it was funny. I just felt like,
up.
I know, I should. I just, like, for me, I don't know. Like, you can't have a movie like this with as much comedy as they had for me. And I know it's a Star Wars movie, so it's, like, fun,
Right.
But I don't know. So for me, that's the only reason. I honestly kind of want to give it a 10 out of 10 because I thought it was awesome. The cinematography was so cool. The way they did some of the things, like the wide. Every Star Wars movie has really cool wide shots in it. But dude, man, some of those shots were awesome, just phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
Really. Seriously.
great stuff. But,
I loved a lot of the shots that they did, especially in the ships.
yeah.
That disoriented you. Like it was like it started underneath the ship, but you thought it was the top, and then it flipped.
Yeah.
Just to kind of show, because a lot of that was like on Kylo, and where it was kind of again a little bit of the foreshadowing of like he's gonna flip to the good side kind of thing. But like a lot of those just kind of disorienting shots I really enjoyed. Even like one of the shots that I really liked was when they're breaking Chewie out. And they're like running down the hallway and they're shooting, and all these dudes are falling like right in front of the shot and things like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool, and it was real low. And
Yeah.
but I loved the score on
So
this
good.
as well. So perfect for me because again, it added to the tension, it added to the moment. A lot of it was the nostalgic stuff. Like you heard a lot of Leia's old theme, especially when she dies. And trying to think of another couple of times. I mean, you hear it a lot.
Just every time I heard like the Skywalker theme, I was just very, very much thinking about this is the last time that's going to be new for me.
Yeah.
Because they're going to make a whole bunch of other Star Wars junk and it's going to be great. But like, that's the last time this song is going to be new.
I haven't really enjoyed necessarily the Rey theme and the Kylo theme and the First Order theme and all that stuff.
Until this movie.
And this movie, I was like, man, that's actually really good. It actually fits really well.
Yeah, Rey's theme. I agree with that.
Man, and it just kind of came full circle for me. Like every time Rey had a thing, it was no, whatever.
Yeah,
then
and I
Kylo's
noticed
bit,
it every time too because it was different.
And it was good, and it was really good. And episode 7, I was like, man, that kind of new stuff. You know, it wasn't for me. Like it was okay.
Yeah.
Episode 8, I was like, the music was
Yeah.
But this movie was like those two movies had already laid that groundwork, and it kind of came full circle for me. And I that like literally, I'm never gonna be able to like disassociate that music with Star Wars. The same way, you know, Duel of Fates from episode 1 and whatever else.
Yeah.
Like that's just as much a part of the Star Wars John Williams legacy as the Imperial March or whatever.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I gave this section a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's
so. I mean,
solid.
I loved it. J.J. Abrams did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Whoever did he write it too?
He co-wrote it with some other guy I never heard of before.
Yeah, so I mean the writing was
great.
great.
Then it said like there were other story writers. There's like 4 more story writers.
Which I don't know what that means.
So
I guess they were just...
I'm just glad it was a collaboration like that, and this is what came out of it. I mean, you know, collaboration doesn't always mean good, but this time it seems like a lot of people were like, no, you can't do that because that's dumb, and yes, we should do this. And it worked.
Yeah, it did work. It totally worked.
Yeah.
100%. What'd you give
Conrad?
Dude, I gave it a 10.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Overall, I thought this was great. This is easily J.J. Abrams' best work. If he takes the rest of his life off, I don't care. You can retire after this. You're done. You're done. Walk away from the table. You won.
You won.
Right? Don't place any more
Better
bets.
than Lost?
You win. Oh, that's the thing about
Did you
Lost.
notice all the Lost
Lost was a
actors
great show.
in
Yeah, and it was
episode
good
7,
to
8,
see
9?
Dom again.
Yeah.
It was good to see
Charlie?
Charlie again. Yeah. So he's in he's in Lost.
He's one of the
Charlie.
He's one of the
Mary.
main characters in.
Yeah.
Lost.
I forgot about that.
It's Mary from
Yeah.
And Lost used to make references to Star Wars too. You know, they had like, you know,
funny.
a guy they would call
No,
like a
because
Chewbacca and stuff.
they had the Asian guy in episode 7. He's from
Miles.
Lost. They had somebody else in there from Lost.
So,
But anyway.
so that was cool. But no, he definitely he's like a rags to riches story for me now. Like a fan, like a Dave Filoni guy who's like just a huge fan who happens to know everything about it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you know what? Why don't you just direct it? Or why don't you just write it? And
He's like, okay.
awesome.
Right.
So, you know, it gives the rest of us hope for
I'm
being
glad that he
geeks.
got to be the one to finish the story.
Yes, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Because episode 7 was like, he did a pretty good job with episode 7. I mean, there was a lot of pressure. A lot of things could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson, as much as people hate on him, I think he did okay.
I still think he's a great story writer and a great director.
Knives Out's a great movie. He makes
love
good
Looper.
stuff. And Looper's a great
Looper's
movie
a
too.
great movie.
Awesome.
He makes good stuff. So I don't want to, bash Ryan Johnson, but I do think
But he did some weird things that somebody should have said no to.
He should have had a better feel for Star Wars. I don't think he was a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I don't know.
J.J. Abrams for me was the perfect choice, and he made Star Trek like cool.
Yeah,
and good.
I've kind of gotten
You know what I'm
past
saying?
that, but that's true. Like
yeah.
it was
Star
a really
Trek
weird thing.
Star Trek was weird and nerdy and kind of a closet like fetish thing that people liked, and dude, it came out.
There was a movie called
And it was-
Fanboys. You ever heard of Fanboys?
Dude, yes.
So like, you know, that's
Did
the way
he
it
do that
was.
movie?
Trekkies are supposed
Oh.
to be just, you know, Trekkies and Star Wars fans are supposed to be totally opposite sides, right? You know, yeah, we both like each other's stuff, but like one or the other, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And for you know Abrams to come along and be somehow allowed to
do
to
both.
make both of them cool again,
Right.
No doubt.
That's kind of
No
blows my
doubt.
mind.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
but yeah, overall cinematic elements though. Yes, the score was incredible.
It was so good.
And just the big shots, because Star Wars should be big.
No
Now,
doubt.
of course, like Episode 4 made it as big as it possibly could with what they had at the time, and it was big enough. But like at this point, we got all the tools in the
Dude,
box, so
the
like let's go
scene-
big.
The scene
And-
where they flash up and all the ships are coming down
Yes.
at the end, like the kind of the end game moment where they all kind of
Right.
rally
when
together.
the heroes arrive.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that
His
was-
whole on
that
your
was-
left moment.
That was awesome.
It may sound even a little corny, but I love the line of like, you know, who's this Navy? You know, and he's like, they're just people.
They're just people.
And I was like, yeah, you know, it's
That
like
was a great
it's one of
line.
those cool things.
Well, it was very, you know, the story of like Dunkirk with like the British. Whenever the British were surrounded at Dunkirk,
Yes.
and Churchill says, you know, we can't send our ships because whatever, and so he just asks all the people of Britain to take their ships across the English
Yeah.
Channel
yeah.
and save the British Army. And so literally thousands of British people in their ship, like little fishing boats,
yeah.
sailed across the channel, picked up their soldiers, and went home.
Yeah. It
And
was
so
a
it's
Dunkirk
kind of
moment.
that. It's kind of that
Yeah.
idea of literally people with their little ships showed up with
Yeah.
little blasters and
Thanks to
we
Lando.
took down the Empire. So
That's right, man.
First Lando was like, ha ha.
Yeah.
And they were
Lando
like,
and Chewie
okay.
saving the day.
Chewie.
All right.
That's a total score of a 42 out of 50 for me. That's actually higher than I thought it was going to be. So,
42?
Yeah, 42.
Man.
Let's see.
Okay. I gave it a 46.
Wow.
And you guys give me crap all the time for giving high score in movies.
You do give high scores.
I've seen this movie twice now, and I waited to score till about an hour ago. Or, well, we've been recording it for about 2 hours ago is when I scored my scored this. So you can not give me a rush to judgment here. I feel like this movie, yes, totally redeems 8 for sure.
Yeah.
But wraps everything up, puts a nice little bow on it.
Yeah.
Yes, there are a few lasting questions that can be answered
Yeah.
when they decide to do another movie or whatever. But as far as the Skywalker saga, I feel like we've got a nice little bow right on top,
Yeah.
and it's good, and we're done with
Okay,
that
so
part of the story.
I would say that I liked this movie more than a 42. Like, as a fan.
Yeah,
A 42 is my attempt at an impartial scoring of the movie.
42 is your critic score.
It's my critic score. I like the movie more than that.
Yeah,
A lot more than that. Because I'm a Star Wars fan. And
Yeah.
I have a heart, you know.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. What's your score?
I don't believe in impartial. No. I think you just got to be you.
So,
that's right, buddy.
Hey, don't be afraid of who you are.
Yeah,
But, like, okay, so if you ask Paul his score for Endgame, he's going to say 50.
Oh, wow.
But
All right, that's the greatest
is
movie he's ever
Endgame
seen.
a 50?
yeah.
No.
Endgame is my number one movie of all time, bro. 50 easily.
I think Infinity War is a better movie than Endgame.
Let's not get into that right now. What's your score?
But they did a good job of ending it. But you've heard my critiques on Endgame
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, why didn't they just do this and that? All I need is this one line to explain why I'm wrong. But like, everybody's got all these powers now. I just have some
No
way
doubt.
around it. No, 44 is my score.
44,
here.
solid.
It comes out to solid
Nice,
44. You know,
yeah.
I really like this movie, and I was really happy with what they did with it. And
Yeah.
man, there was a lot of tension for me just going into it. Like, oh, please don't, you know, please
Okay.
don't let this be terrible.
I have 6 meta questions. A couple of them are pretty short, quick ones. Do you have any questions?
I have a few. Okay, yeah. I have 5.
Perfect.
I got 4.
Oh.
Perfect. Let's go. Top 5 Star Wars movie of all time.
Easily. This is probably
I'm gonna say yes.
I
I haven't made my list.
easily
for next
top. I did make mine excluding this, but yeah, this is going to be top 5, if not top 3.
week. I haven't made my list yet, but
Ooh,
it's up
top
there.
3.
It's definitely top 5.
Let me see what I. Let me,
I need to
let me
make
look
my
at-
list. It's probably 4. That's probably my 4th favorite.
Let me look at
When I was trying to figure it out today, but it's easily in the top 5. It's 4 or
Okay.
5.
Good.
what did I have?
Good
as-
easy question for me. Starting off. What's your question?
I may not be doing this right. This is still a little bit about the actual
Great.
episode
Whatever
9.
you want.
Yeah.
Did y'all think it worked with Leia and archival footage and all the little things they did there to make that?
I thought it worked really well.
Yeah.
The only thing that didn't look great for me was the flashback sequence.
Yeah,
that one was a little.
She looked a little funky in that one, but
I think it looked pretty good. I think it looked better than
if you didn't
Tarkin
know
in Rogue One.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And if you don't know what's happening, like if you didn't know any of that situation, you'd be like, oh, that was just a young actress that they cast to look like her.
I'm still looking at it from like an editor's perspective, and I'm like, what did she say in an original script for something else that they shot that they had to write around to make a script work? Because we have this line of her saying this and this line of her saying that, and like now we have to write a script that fits this puzzle.
I thought they made it work really well.
If you kind of notice, there's because again, second time made it more sense. A lot of the scenes with her, she only spoke maybe 10 lines.
Yeah.
About half of them was her back.
Yep.
And she was talking at Rey. So I wonder if it wasn't just maybe her daughter or somebody in real life dressed up as her.
I do think there was a stand-in for just hands and just her back.
There was a stand-in for a lot of shots.
A few of like the never underestimated droid scene. I saw an edit that somebody did of where it was the scene from Force Awakens.
Oh yeah,
and it looked perfectly fine. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, there's a couple like tracking shots, and I was like, I think I saw that like on the runway in Force Awakens.
Yeah,
you know, like I think I've seen her make that face before.
Right.
And the camera was moving the same way, so I wonder if somebody's gonna put some of those side by side and be like, look what we found. I kind of don't care.
I thought it was fine.
I agree with you. Like for me, the creativity, the craftsmanship that went into that.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of respect.
And just not killing her off for no reason. I thought that was cool, and I'm glad that they stuck with their original idea of, making her last all 3 movies and having all these different things happen. So, Paul, your question?
So this one's probably pretty easy. What was Finn going to tell Rey when they were sinking into the sinking sands? Oh, yeah. I think he was going to say, I love you. I never told you that I love you.
I think he was going to say, have you seen Finn's jacket or Poe's jacket? I lost it. I think I left it in your room.
I thought it was a Force sensitive thing.
What?
That's what I thought.
Honestly, I'm going with Paul. He was going to tell her he loved her.
I mean, that's the easy way out. And you're probably right.
Because, I mean, there ever since 7, there's this connection.
No doubt.
Sure.
Are they friends or more than friends?
Right.
Hey, and bro, she kissed Kylo, so come on.
That's not an issue.
But he died also, so
it's very true. Up. He's very dead.
But I think it was.
I thought there was a lot of Force sensitive hints in this movie.
So that Finn. Actually, okay, so we can get into that. That's another one of my questions. Is Finn Force sensitive?
A little bit.
And so I think he is
a little bit
because when she dies, he like totally is like has like every other time we've seen a person react like that, they have the Force. They're like, oh,
Yoda.
I have felt 1,000 voices crowd in fear.
Yeah. And he talks about his feelings in this one, and it's like, well, I felt it, So he's got a little bit of that.
That's what
at the same time, they're just like, there's no reason he should have survived a battle with Kylo Ren on Starkiller Base.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right.
No doubt.
Something was going on there. It wasn't Stormtrooper training that kept him. So all you can argue is like, of course, it's all fiction, but like, hey, he's a little bit Force sensitive, so he's able to get the saber there to do some blocks,
Yeah.
Just long enough
because he loves the girl, so it's gonna make him fight better.
He's got more adrenaline going.
But so that's.
I would say yes.
I would say he's Force sensitive, but I think he was gonna say, I love you, Rey.
A little bit.
All right,
man. So he likes Rose at one point, or Rose likes him.
I think the weird love triangle is that. Yeah, there's
the new girl.
Huh?
For this movie.
Okay, so I don't
treats her more like a sister.
Yes.
Okay.
I think her name is Jana, which I caught that easily because that's my wife's name. But I think it's more of like a sister thing with her. And then, Rose, I think he is kind of like trying to friend zone her a little bit.
He respects Rose.
And
Rose
I think
likes her. Rose likes him a lot more than she likes her.
I think he is truly in love with Rey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Rey the most powerful Jedi ever?
I would say, okay, just from what we've seen in the movies, I would say probably yes. Because, I don't know.
Bro, she's Palpatine. Like,
Right, yeah, no, she has,
I mean,
but I would still say Yoda
no doubt.
probably
Yoda
is
like,
more powerful than her.
Well, he's been around for 1,000 years,
Well,
so he's
yeah.
like figured out a lot of things.
Yeah,
and-
but like, I mean, it was like you said, just, we'd never
just
seen
raw
anybody to just go,
power.
stop moving your ship.
Well, we've never
you
seen
know.
anyone heal anyone before.
The healing was,
I don't
yeah.
think Yoda had that power, or maybe he did. He just didn't use it. I don't know.
I think that, that's where you can kind of argue of most powerful Jedi. I think she's both. I think she is a Sith and a Jedi.
She was potential to be the most powerful Sith.
Yeah.
But that was her choice.
Right.
Right.
Basically, you can be the most powerful.
So most powerful
one
force
or the
wielder,
other.
period.
I would say probably yes.
Because, I mean, here you have like a fighter like Obi-Wan.
Right.
He's obviously the best fighter when it comes to combat because he's got that list of taking out all these different opponents. You know, is he the most powerful? Well, no. Luke has to work to do some Force stuff sometimes. Even Yoda has to, really concentrate to get an X-wing out of the water. But she stops one in motion. It's the first time you've ever seen somebody stop a
she
ship in
literally
motion.
is just like, like
At the
Yoda's
same
like
time-
closing his eyes and like working really hard to
At
do
the
like
same time, with the
X-wing thing.
Force, it's not supposed to matter about size.
That's
It should
true.
be
That's
equally
true.
hard to lift a rock as it is to stop a ship if you're in the right
Mentally,
mindset,
yeah.
right?
I just
But
man, that
yes,
was
you're right. The
so
healing power,
crazy.
and here's the thing: Yoda goes toe to toe with the Emperor,
Right.
and they're an equal match.
right,
Yeah.
But Rey goes toe to toe with them, and she wins.
right.
And it wasn't just because she had two lightsabers.
It was a
You know what I
very
really
weakened-
wanted to happen?
I guess it wasn't even a weakened emperor. My argument was going to be that it was.
Yeah,
a
he
weakened
was all
emperor.
refreshed.
but
He
he
was-
he
yeah.
sucked the
He
life
had
out of him.
sucked the essence out of him, like the Dark Crystal. That stuff jacks with me. I don't like pulling the essence out of people. I was like, oh, this is so bad. I don't like that. So here's this though. You know what I really wanted to happen? I wanted her to drop the sabers and still have like the saber blade. The way he can cast lightning, I wanted her to just be able to be like, do something.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of Doctor Strange style, where you could just like, she could do like positive force.
One of the cooler moments,
Like
for
she didn't
me,
need the tool, the toy, or whatever. She could just do
one of the
it.
coolest moments in the movie for me was whenever she put the lightsaber behind her back
And it went to
and Kylo
Ben.
caught it. That was awesome.
So that's new,
I
really,
love
in
that.
this movie. Like they didn't really do that in the last movie
And
with
the
the projection.
Darth Vader thing.
So that was
To be able to literally pass a physical object through space, I feel like was new.
The water hits him in episode 8.
Yes, that's true.
but
And his
that's a
glove
thing
is-
between them.
his glove is
because
wet.
and
Yeah.
that is something the Emperor says is like, I forget what they called it, but like a dia something or
dyad?
other. Yeah, he's like, this hasn't happened in 1,000 years, and that's
connection.
how he's able to get, because if it had just been
Yes.
one of them, he wouldn't have been able to restore himself.
Yes.
He had to have both of their. So yeah, they're like a completely new or thing that hasn't happened in 1,000 years.
How often does it
magic.
happen in the movie? The necklace is one. Darth Vader's helmet's one.
And the berries from
the berries
Saren-
and the beads or whatever that was is one.
Yeah.
And then the lightsaber.
and then the
So it
lightsaber.
happens 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it
in this
happens
movie.
4 times in this movie. Yeah, the
And
the
water
water
is the only one I can think of.
from
in the last
7
one.
or 8.
Yeah. So
Well,
the
and I mean
Force-
they touch
they actually touch hands.
in 7
So the
or in
Force-
8.
Elemental.
So the Force Bridge was Snoke, right?
So they say.
According to
According to Snoke.
But there's somebody pulling the strings here.
But
But apparently it
apparently it wasn't.
It's just the
because-
two of them.
yeah.
Right.
And here's one more thing
because
I want to say
they
about
were both-
cinematic elements. This is an amazing cinematic thing. The audience accepted the fact that, like, remember when they had a lightsaber fight, but they're not in the same room with each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
What?
crazy.
That
And
was-
it was shot really well because what a
Yes.
weird idea to write that down on paper as a script. Well, they're in 2 different places and they fight each other. Well, how do you show that on the screen? I thought they did it. I want to watch that like 100 times more.
doubt. Well, and
Yeah.
they,
Because like
That's
I
one
can
of the-
accept it. I'm a weird sci-fi geek. I'm like, okay, so they're in different places, they fight each other. But like I'm in a theater with a few hundred people and nobody was like, what? They were all like, oh yeah. And I was like, how did
Yeah.
you shoot that to get everybody into this?
once
you know?
people accepted the Emperor was alive, There was probably nothing in this movie that could have happened. You were like, well, no, that couldn't happen.
Could have had a
But,
honeybee could
literally-
have flown in
yeah,
and sold
like,
me Honey Nut Cheerios
No
or
doubt.
something. To be like,
literally,
okay,
like,
whatever.
okay, whatever you
That's
say.
a cartoon guy. Okay.
Yes.
No joke. But I thought that was one of the strengths of episode 8. One of the better things that Ryan Johnson did. Shout out to Ryan Johnson for all the haters. Is that he created that bridge and he showed that so well where they're looking at each other from two totally different areas.
Yeah.
Totally different scenes. And I thought that was really, really well done in episode 8. And then obviously J.J. Abrams capitalized that even more so and took it to the next level.
And he did because of and that was another thing from 8 with that. He was like, Kylo said, the first time it happens, he's like, I can see you, but I can't see your surroundings. Can you see mine? Kind of thing. Like, can you hear me now?
He started to figure it out. Ray was like, what the heck is happening? He was like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Like, this is...
And even in this one, he figured out he needed to get in a fight with her so she could like break something and he could see it. Right.
Yeah.
So he
well,
could
and they
figure it
broke
out.
the thing. He's
Show
like,
the
oh, that's
surroundings.
where you are. And I was like, oh, snap.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, I just asked that question, I think.
Yep,
That's your
Conrad?
question?
Yeah. What's the deal with Maz and Chewbacca?
Dude.
Remember when she's like, "Where's my
Yes.
boyfriend?"
Where's my
He's like,
boyfriend?
where's...
And then in this one, she's like, "I got this for you, and it's like a little special medal or whatever."
Okay.
What is that? Is
think
that
it's
a
Han's
Han
medal.
thing?
No, okay, so in episode 4, at the throne room scene,
medal.
Yes.
where they get medals, Chewie doesn't get one. And everybody
That's right.
has always been up in arms about, why didn't Chewie get a medal? Why didn't Chewie get a medal?
That's right.
Well, now he gets a medal, but yes, we're led to believe that it was Han.
I thought
Thank
it
you,
was
my
Han. It
friend.
was Han's medal.
Yes, but even at the end, they're showing all the celebrations, and he's like showing the droids.
He's like, I got a medal. Yes, I saw that
Did you
too.
notice that
I
it
was like, this means something. I need to understand this better. So thank you, my friend. For
Did you
explaining
notice
that to
it
me.
was
That
the old characters here and the new characters
Yes.
here? They are
Yes.
very clearly...
Yeah, it was kind of like, and then you look over here and you see the Force ghosts. Did you guys expect to see more Force
I
ghosts than just
expect-
Luke?
Yes.
So we talked about this in
We
our
did.
prediction
Because
episode.
you see these
and
names
we,
of people who are going to be in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Kind of can't help it.
Yeah.
And then it ends up being their voices.
Dude, okay, so Liam Neeson,
Okay,
Ewan McGregor,
Here, yeah.
I thought that was going to happen on
Samuel L.
R2.
Jackson,
Here. Let me get.
Hayden Christensen.
Let's get back. That's one of my questions.
Do it.
What Jedi did you hear? So we hear one of the.
Did
the
we hear or do we know was in it?
both?
So I didn't know for sure who all was there
Okay.
until I saw the credits. The first time I watched it,
Yeah.
the voices I specifically heard when I was watching it
Yeah.
in the theater. Old man Obi-Wan.
Yep. You hear him.
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, Ewan McGregor,
He's the first one you hear.
Samuel L. Jackson,
Yes.
Yep.
Hayden Christensen.
Yes.
Yep.
Christensen. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Christensen. Yoda,
Yep.
Luke.
Yes.
Those are all the ones that Liam Neeson.
I can say you heard Qui-Gon. Okay.
Multiple times, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was awesome because
Yes.
Liam Neeson's voice is so cool. Aslan, come on.
Yeah, dude.
Just kidding. But
No, he was a good voice.
Dude, I love Liam Neeson. Anyway,
So good.
those were the 6 or 7 that I heard off the top of my head. There are more I couldn't tell who they were.
Okay. Yeah. Conrad, did you pick up anybody else?
It's hard to say in the moment. I agree with all those.
Yes.
Those are the ones that I for sure were like, I know who those people are.
Yep.
I heard other voices that sounded like council members or
So
something. but-
up front was Obi-Wan. I don't have an order of when they went and what they said, but yeah.
Right.
Obi-Wan,
he said the first steps thing.
both Obi-Wans, old
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness, Anakin, Yoda, Qui-Gon,
Mace Windu.
and then Mace, and then Luke was at the very last one. The other ones one of them was Ahsoka. One of them
The
was
voice actress from...
yes.
Okay.
One of them was Kanan
Right.
from Rebels.
And I saw that in the credits, and I was like, I didn't catch the voice.
Really?
I don't know what he said, but the second time, because
I
I
didn't hear
looked
his
this up
voice.
before I saw it the second
Right.
time, and I heard him. He was in there.
Yeah.
The other ones that I found online were because there was like 2 or 3 other girls that I had no clue who they were. One of them was Ayla Sakura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I figured it was.
One of them was, and these are all from. They had parts in Clone Wars, so that's why they're, I guess, tied them in.
Yeah.
One was Addie Gallia and Luminara Undoli.
Uh-huh.
So those were all of the people that were in there somewhere.
It's got the same voice actress.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to whenever that comes out, I'm gonna have to disintegrate that and
No doubt.
figure it all out. But yeah, I mean, because it was
Because they said
Perfect.
rise, they said 1,000 years of Jedi, generations
Yep.
of Jedi. They said take your first steps, the last steps,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I honestly
that was a great scene. I loved that.
Don't
scene.
remember much of what they said. I just was listening to who was saying it.
I loved that scene. That was awesome.
It was good. I do agree that I wanted the moment when, like, after she was done hearing them, for her to stand up and them all be standing behind her. I really wanted something like that to happen.
I thought that would have been awesome. The problem is, I for sure agree. The problem, I think, at least for me, is she doesn't know who Obi-Wan is. She doesn't even know who Yoda is necessarily.
How bad did you want her to be a Kenobi?
I wanted her to be a Kenobi, like,
And
real bad.
then I was like, she'd be like, and then I was like, maybe cryogenics, maybe she's frozen. Like the timeline didn't work very well, you know. It's like she can't be like a granddaughter. It can't be a whole bunch of Kenobis running around. Yeah, which took me to a place where I was like, well, maybe she is a Palpatine, like he made her in somebody's womb, and creepy stuff. But
the Palpatine. Did you saw the Palpatine thing coming?
I did. I mean, because it was when I was watching episode 3 this year, and we were talking. But I honestly thought Palpatine was going to be her dad, like he made her in somebody's womb, and they were so freaked out by it that they dumped her on a desert planet because they knew who it was. And the creepiest theory I had was that Palpatine created her in Leia's womb, and Leia was like, "We can't do this. I didn't make this, and this is bad." And like that would have been more jacked up than Star Wars. The way that
Leia like mothered her.
Yeah,
I thought for sure she was going to be some.
It felt like that, right?
Kind of tie-in, yeah.
Leia knew, though. I think Leia knew who she was.
Or something.
She did. Luke said she
did. Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah, she foresaw that.
Yeah. Okay, my next question. What was your favorite callback in the movie?
Well, one of, I can't.
There's a bunch.
There's a bunch.
So many.
One of was that Chewie got his medal. I really enjoyed that. That was one of the things that I remember after hearing somebody say that and watching episode 4 after that fact. I was like, dude, that's so jacked up that he didn't get a medal. Like, he did as much as Han Solo did.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did like that callback. I can't think of another good one.
So something I was surprised by. This isn't my favorite, but I was surprised to see Wedge, and I was happy about it.
I
loved Wedge.
Like,
yes. Wedge was good.
But I think my favorite callback is also a semi-disturbing moment. Lando's on the scene again, and he's like, "Give my love to Leia," and then she's like, "Tell her yourself." And he makes this face, and it takes you back to like Cloud City.
Yes,
because he's Lando, and it's a little bit creepy. And he was. I was like, Lando's gonna give his love to Leia in person. Like, what is happening all of a sudden? Don't accept the drinks. Don't go to the party, Leia.
Oh man!
But at the same time, he was like, And I was like, it's Lando.
That makes me think of.
I loved it though.
Of the very end when Poe looks at the girl.
Yes,
and he's like, and she's like,
no. She's like, nope.
Yeah, because at that, like when they like leave,
really
he's like, "Can I kiss you?" She's like, "No."
That was really funny. I loved all the quotes that people said. So like the Palpatine says,
"Yes,
the dark side is a pathway to many
unnatural.
Things that some people would consider unnatural." And I was like, episode 3, let's go.
Yes.
Episode 3.
Yes.
If you haven't heard us talk about it, it's my favorite Star Wars movie.
And I think that's wild that you say that, but at the same time, episode 3 is very underrated.
Such a great movie.
And there's only half an hour of it that I would cut out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is such a good movie. Anyway, that was like my first like movie. I think that's actually the only Star Wars movie I ever got to see in the theater.
So good.
Until 7.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But so I loved that callback.
That was a good one. I did like that.
I loved Wedge.
There were a couple other lines like that, though.
There were several.
That were like direct callbacks that I can't remember what they were now.
I liked her dreaming of the island. I thought that was cool.
I'll tell you what my favorite one was now. Is the super parallel of Luke raising the X-Wing to Yoda raising the X-Wing out of the water.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite parts of the entire movie because I was like, he finally, because we never, Luke never really did anything that we saw that was like that powerful, and like he did it.
And when's the last time you saw a Force Ghost actually do anything?
Exactly.
Other than talk to somebody.
Have we ever seen a Force Ghost use the Force?
No.
I don't think so. He caught a lightsaber and
then he lifted an X-Wing out of the water.
That's how powerful. He's the most powerful Force Ghost.
Oh snap!
I was waiting for the Force Ghost Council of Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Anakin,
Right.
Yoda.
I thought
and
that was going to
Luke.
happen.
That would have been
Like
See,
on
that
Octu
was
when she
dope.
went back.
That was another point when I thought that it could happen too. Like,
And
'cause-
yet it makes sense because she didn't really know any of those guys.
I'm glad that
Yeah.
I'm glad that she referenced the Jedi books. I
Yes.
thought that was nice.
Yes.
That was a
Yes.
nice.
That
That
was a
these
good
were actually
callback.
valuable books. They weren't just like these random things. I thought that
Right.
was that was cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Thought that was good.
page turners. Yeah,
page turners.
The
They
page
were
turners,
not.
they are not. Yeah, that was good.
yeah, that was a good one.
Next question.
Oh, is that
Next,
on me?
like, you got one, Conrad, or are you all questioned out?
No, I got something in here. Let's see. Oh, and honestly, did you guys think it worked with Han? Did that work for Han to come back? He's not a Force ghost. They
It's just,
they explain it.
Just a memory.
He's a
does that work?
memory. I liked it.
I liked it.
I
too.
really enjoyed that scene. That was another callback line that I really enjoyed. Like the last few minutes, I don't know if I have the strength to do it,
Episode 7.
or whatever.
Well, he touches his face.
Touches
the
his
same
face,
way. Yeah.
and he says, "What does he say?" He says like, "I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it." And then
He says,
Han
"You
says,
do."
"Yes, you do." And watching it again for the second time at the end when Rey is dead in his arms and he like hugs her and he's like looking right into the screen, I in my mind heard him say the same line again. He's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And then he saves her, and because he knew it would like kill him and everything like that. And so those couple of scenes actually made me like Ben, Kylo,
Yeah.
so much more.
See, I liked Ben the whole time, but this movie for me just was like really solid.
But yeah,
Solid
that was another one that I'm glad we brought that up because
Well,
that
Ben
was
finally grew up.
a little bit. But yeah, I love Han Solo is my favorite character of Star Wars. So
Yeah.
I was very glad to see him
Yeah, he deserved
back
a callback.
because I thought he was going to come back originally before
In
we
8?
knew. I thought he was going to come back in 8 in a very similar way.
Right. As a flashback or something.
Yeah. But I'm glad that it was here.
Have you seen the family portrait circa 1991 or
Oh,
something like that?
yes.
And it's like Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, and
And-
Adam Driver, all at like
Yeah.
whatever age they were in 1991 or 2
Yes.
or whatever, and it is hilarious.
It's pretty
Have you seen
darn
those
funny.
pictures?
No.
It's like
so
somebody
someone
made like
literally
a
found a
yearbook
picture
kinda-
of Harrison Ford in 1990, Carrie Fisher 1990, and Adam Driver, and it is hilarious.
I gotta
You'll
show
have to-
you
you'll have
guys
to go
this.
home and Google it. It's
I got to show
funny.
you this Kylo reacts to the trailers
okay.
video,
That's
especially
awesome.
the one for Rogue One was amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a funny picture. I have it on my
But yeah,
phone,
that was
I
a
think.
big deal. Like Han died, and it left so much unsaid. I remember watching this and thinking, like, what would I have written there? Because he doesn't say anything. He just dies, and you're just like, what? So
Yeah,
much
how
is
do
left
you-
unsaid.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, I wish he would say, like, son, I forgive you, even after he gets shot, right? Like, I forgive you would wreck Kylo. But at the same time, that's me coming from, I'm a Christian. It comes from more of a Christian perspective.
Yeah.
And then you go forward, he meets Luke in the Force projection at the end of episode 8, and he's like, are you here to tell me you forgive me? And he's like, no. You know?
Luke's like,
And I
"Nope."
was like, awesome. So
Yeah.
at least they know. And
Right.
then in this one, he finally does get to actually flesh some of that out. And
Yeah.
yet it's from Kylo's memory of his dad and who he is. And then, and he's just heard his mom. And that's another thing. Leia didn't say a whole lot to him.
Yeah.
She just
Yeah.
says his name, his true name. And I think his acknowledgement that he is still Ben
Yeah.
is what kills
Obviously-
Kylo.
Yeah, obviously
Yeah.
it saves Rey and kills Kylo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another callback that I really, really appreciated in that same scene, because he's like, Kylo is again struggling. Right before he throws the lightsaber, he's like, Dad, and he wants to say, you can just see it on his
Yeah.
face, I love you.
Yeah.
And Han goes, I know.
Yeah.
Total callback to 5.
He says, I know.
Yes.
And I was like, dude,
Yep. Good
that
stuff.
was one of the like best depictions of a father-son moment on screen I think I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
I loved it. So yeah,
Good
that
stuff.
was
I'm,
great.
I'm pumped to go see this. I'll definitely go see this again before Christmas.
Yeah, it was a great scene.
When's
Glad
the
you
next
brought
show?
that up.
Did
That
you
was
like
a good-
watching it a second time?
Oh yeah, I very much more appreciated it the second time more, because the things of, like we said, the beginning of it. The first time I saw it, I was like, holy crap, this is a lot of stuff to cram into the first hour.
Yeah.
Second time, I was like, okay, now I know, and I was able to
You're just
enjoy
watching
it
for
more, things like that. So yeah, this is definitely I loved it the first time I saw it, but I still feel like it's going to get better the more I watch it. So yeah.
Question?
Yeah, we asked that one. Okay, so here was a little snippet at the end of when Jana, the other black stormtrooper that escaped or whatever,
Right.
sat down with Lando and said, General, well, where are you from? And I was like, this is the most random thing ever. And then he's like, well, the gold system or whatever. And he's like, well, where are you from? And I was like, that's going to set up something.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling, do you feel like that Disney will pursue her being Lando's daughter?
I think it was a real stretch to say that, but I think it was a really cool thing for him to be like, let's find out. Like, I'm going to take care of you, and basically I'm going to adopt you into my family. To me, it was one of those ways the movie reinforced its major theme is that some things are thicker than blood. Like some things are more important. So, I mean, truly, that's kind of what they were getting at all along. Rey, are your parents nobodies? Are they somebodies? What's the big deal? Well, it turned out to be a little bit of both.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah.
Because her heritage was a major part of who she was and why she was super force sensitive and powerful. And at the same time, her actual parents weren't that great. And it didn't really matter. And it needed to not matter. Otherwise, she had to take the throne as the new emperor of the Sith and the empress, Why did she see herself on the throne, but she never actually sat on the throne? A lot of times in Star Wars, they'll foresee something, but then when it actually happens, it's the other way around.
Right.
I don't know.
I liked the dark Rey with the double lightsaber. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was a cool way to use that. I honestly wanted it to be more like when that first came out in the first trailer, people immediately like, oh yeah, it's just going to be like from episode 5 where Luke goes into and he kills himself. I was
flashback.
I was like, oh man, I really want it to be something more than this, but it wasn't.
Just
but I
a
wasn't super upset. I was a little bummed.
I like Dark 3PO.
Yeah,
when he's
the red eyes.
When he's Imperial 3PO again, because he's originally I don't know.
Yeah.
So good.
It's always crazy when you think about 3PO being the creation of Anakin.
And what they say is they put him together with parts
crazy.
That were already originally he was some other droid,
right?
But he was kind of like a kit car for Anakin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you just forget that. And you're like, oh my gosh, Darth Vader made this thing.
Well, and clearly there'd been that big question of when did his memory get erased? Because why doesn't he remember that? Yeah. And here they actually got to flesh out the memories erased. Because he's been complaining since the beginning of episode 4, oh, watch out, you'll get your memory erased.
He always says thank the maker.
Yes.
He always says that. I'm like, Darth Vader.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing.
That was a great twist.
But nobody knows that except for George Lucas.
Did you guys ever see that little, it looks like a little Maz Kanata doll in Anakin's room in episode 1? Little boy Anakin. This is this little thing that looks like Maz. I don't know. It's somebody from her species, I think.
That's amazing.
Interesting.
Looks like a little wooden toy. Looks like that.
Wow.
Yep.
That's funny.
Do you think they'll pursue it as far as a movie or TV show?
Yeah. Will they make?
I think
something...
Lando is an interesting enough character to give him a movie, especially if Chewie's in it.
I could definitely see
get
something.
Chewie and R2 and C-3PO on there.
Mm-hmm.
Totally make an 1.5-hour movie out of that. Would people go see it? I don't know. Solo didn't do great.
Would you let Ron Howard touch it?
No.
Well,
Ron Howard does good stuff, but Solo.
It was Bryce Howard that did episode 4 of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a cuddly feely episode. I'm surprised you don't like it.
I liked parts of it. It was just so slow.
No, I get it.
But anyway,
7 Samurai.
It was. Totally.
It was literally no doubt though.
Yes.
I think they could pursue it. I don't think it's necessarily worth it. I think it's one of those things that's they left it up in the air for a reason.
Yeah.
It's just kind of meh.
Okay.
Maybe it could be a Lego game.
Okay, here's my probably hardest, not
Lego
hardest
Lando.
question to answer, but longest conversation probably.
Okay.
Star Wars or Marvel? Question mark. Like I said, difficult. You're Star Wars, right?
Yeah. Let's see how many.
He's Marvel.
How many Marvel shirts do I have on today?
Oh my gosh.
No,
wearing 2 Star Wars shirts.
Just double Star Wars for me.
So Star Wars 1, Marvel, I'm going to say 1 over there probably.
I don't know, man. I've been watching Star Wars since I was a kid.
Right.
I saw one of the first movies I ever saw, no kidding, was Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw it when we were overseas. We had the tape.
Had the VHS?
Yeah, we watched it. So I don't know. I do feel like I've grown up more with Marvel.
Yeah.
Because it's been going on for only the last 11 years.
No doubt.
and maybe I would get a bit more excited about a Marvel movie, but Star Wars is just so broad in any way of that they have movies, they have these TV shows that are awesome also, even these books that have been around for 30 years or whatever, however long they've been writing movies, they've been writing books.
Yeah.
Even like the games, just love all their stuff. I don't know if I can really... That's my top two. I don't know if I can really distinguish between them. It's just kind of a different day.
For me, those are the only two series that really compare to that argument, or that are even a part of that argument, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't add anything else to that would say, the Pirates of the Caribbean is... No. You can't add anything else to that argument.
Like, I think Lord of the Rings and the Dark Knight trilogy, for me, are two trilogies that are higher quality movies than anything Marvel's done and anything Star Wars has done.
Wow.
But as far as a legacy series, saga, whatever you want to call it, at least in my opinion, Star Wars stands alone with Marvel on that next tier.
Yeah.
Dark Knight is one of the best trilogies of all time. That trilogy is so good.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings
I'll
is
agree.
so good. But
it's like a 3 or 4 or 5.
But it's a very short burst of really high quality movies.
Yeah.
Star Wars is 50 years of 40 whatever years of
42.
I was like 50.
I mean, almost 50, round up.
Hey, they started working on it a long time before it came out.
No doubt. Lucas has
that's
been
fair.
working on it forever.
That's fair.
But anyway, it's 40 whatever years of, man, just great storytelling. A lot of people around the world caring about it. And a lot of different people telling different stories inside that universe.
Yeah.
I
think Lucas has been really cool about fan fiction.
Yeah.
For being a guy who really didn't want the technology. He was really reluctant to release a DVD for a long time. VHS was okay because a copy of a VHS looked like junk, but he didn't want to really... It took forever for him to agree, like, okay, we'll put this on DVD with the macrovision protection, all this stuff, because he was just so concerned it would just get... but at the same time, fans would come along and write, like, fan fiction, and he'd be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, he wanted the creativity to grow,
right,
rather than the piracy of his work.
And it's cool to see that he's a part of 7, 8, and 9, and he's a part of the Clone Wars, and he's a part of Rebels, and he's a
sometimes
part
he weighs in and he's like, that's not what I would have done, and I'm frustrated because that has nothing to do with my idea, but
it's still cool.
Okay.
And I think it's still cool. Yeah, and so for me, Marvel, I grew up with Marvel. Like, Marvel started kicking in 2008, and I was 13 years old, and so for me, Marvel was like, boom, that's my teenage, college, high school years, boom, 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 back to back to back to back, just straight up Marvel. But for whatever reason, man, Star Wars just has a deeper place in my soul, in my heart, and it's just like that story is so simple and yet so like, man, it's very archetypal in the sense of you kind of take all these really standard characters who fit in any myth anywhere in the world from any time period, put them in a pretty interesting environment, and make them unique with some cool actors and some cool CGI, and man, it just kind of takes off. So
as like world cultures go and history goes, like Greek mythology was a big deal, and everybody kind of agreed, okay, these are Greek characters and here's what they do. And so Marvel is clearly like the modern version of Greek mythology, right? Even down to like, you're going to throw Thor in there and stuff. So you've got some some old school characters. But Star Wars is different because it approaches a spiritual aspect of humanity, and it creates small, like the family unit, and it talks about, lineage and who are your parents and who are you going to be. And that's always been like a common thread there. Yeah. And at the same time, not everybody has a heavy stake in it, because Lucas himself was raised Methodist, and grew up, started learning about Buddhism, and he's to this day considers himself something that most people would be like, that doesn't sound right. You can't. He's a Buddhist Methodist, or a Methodist Buddhist. It's like, And so it's kind of like, well, but that yin yang theme is throughout Star Wars.
Yeah, the light and the dark and the balance and the.
And so he's felt like he sees some kind of truth in that, and at the same time, he sees these spiritual elements that are more part of Christianity that are part of this. And so it's kind of weird that where nobody has like full stake in that game.
Yeah.
And anybody who's like full Buddhist or full Methodist will just be like, no.
Well, it's not overly religious either. Like it has those spiritual themes that anyone, religious or not, can appreciate. The light and the dark and the good versus evil, and you get to choose what kind of person you want to be and all that kind of stuff.
So he found a common thread that connects people across the globe on like, okay, we can all at least agree on this.
Yeah, exacty.
And there's not,
which is interesting. I was watching an episode of Rebels the other day. It was the episode where Zeb is going back to find his like home world.
Yes. Yeah.
And they have a different name for the Force.
Yes.
And Kanan says the Force has many names. And that was the first time when I was like, holy crap, the Force has many names. Like, people don't call it the Force everywhere.
Right.
Only, this group of people we've followed around call it the Force.
Yeah.
I thought that was clever.
And so it's like, we call God, and like Muslims call him Allah and whatever. So it's like it's all the same person, which I don't necessarily.
And for our perspective, we know a personal God, and other people seem to know these themes,
right?
That are missing this personal element. Mm-hmm. And so Star Wars is going to be on that theme thing.
Yeah,
so when I watch it with my kids and stuff, I'm always like, okay, here's some things. This is fiction. This is
no doubt.
But here's some of the things that seem like they're true, and here's why. There's this force, but they don't know any personality behind the force. And so in reality, thankfully, we do. We know a person that's behind the power, and it's not just about electricity in a wall or some kind of force, but it's more than that in reality. Yeah. So, but it's still these excellent themes about you've got a choice to make between good and evil, and you've got there is power in you, but it's been put there by somebody. And so I talk to my kids more about that.
Okay, I got 2 more questions. One kind of serious and one kind of funny.
Well,
you got a question?
My turn.
Yeah, go for it. I thought you were done. Go for it.
It's my last one.
All right.
Do you like how Leia had a bigger force part? Whereas like it's canon that somewhere in the books or whatever, Luke trained Leia. Mm-hmm. We never saw that in any of the movies until 8, where she Mary Poppins'd her way back into the ship, which enraged many people. I did not like the way it was done, but I understood it knowing that she was a force user. Mm-hmm. But with this movie, where she was actually, oh well, okay, that was interesting. That must have been where I last ended our recording of our other episode. Ignore that for the people that were listening.
That's amazing.
How she was like Rey's master, did all the training, where we actually see her training with Luke and other things like that.
That was so good.
I really appreciated that in this, to again kind of validate more of that she was a force user. Mm-hmm. How do y'all feel?
I loved it in this movie.
Yeah.
Hated it in the last movie.
If you put
it in this order, 100%. For me, the Mary Poppins, that's a great way to put it. I never thought of it that way. I'm totally going to use that from now on, the Mary Poppins thing. But so for me, that was like the first time we'd seen her use the Force, and I was like, boo, 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 boo. This stuff with the training and the lightsaber flashback when she's fighting with Luke, and she like looks like legit good at it and fast and everything. I liked how the lightsaber thing became a thing at the end. But anyway, I liked the Force stuff in this movie. 100%. Mm-hmm. Was in for it. Yeah, for sure. I did not like it in the last one. Mm-hmm. I liked her being able to sense Kylo. I liked her being able to speak to Kylo. I liked all that kind of stuff for sure. 100%. Like I said earlier in the show, I didn't like Leia hardly ever, really, in Star Wars. She was kind of there. She was meant for me. This was my favorite Leia movie, I think. Even though she was like actually not in the movie. Like seriously though, like she's like a famous painter or something. So she got really valuable to you after you died. Yeah, I know. I guess. Yeah, which is crazy. Like I don't know. For me, she was more interesting in this movie than she'd been in any movie, I think, up to this point. Because like if you think about it, in episode 4, she is kind of annoying and meh.
No, I think that was actually one of the bigger payoffs about the movie. Like, I needed to see Leia do something.
Yes.
You know.
Well, and her death actually had a purpose and actually accomplished something, and and her lightsaber ended up being really important.
I expected her to do more healing in the other movies. I was kind of waiting for that force power for a long time.
Yeah, Lucy.
Yeah.
Well, and then she had her Force ghost at the end.
Yeah. I
you need
forgot
to see
about
that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Kylo's Force Ghost to show up. Did you think about that?
No. I was very fine with it being Luke.
No, I was
Sit
too.
there and
100%.
arms around each other.
I was just waiting for Kylo to kind of
Sit
be
on a
in the
log.
background, or sitting on the log. I liked the Force Ghost at the end of Leia. I thought that was cool.
That was cool. Yeah, and that whole scene seems actually pretty forced. Where Rey has to think of her name.
The random old lady.
Yeah.
And that was another part that I wanted to talk about.
At the same time,
that bothered me a little bit.
I kind of like it. Like,
I do actually think that I enjoy, because that was the whole payoff of the movie.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was the rise of Skywalker.
So she chooses to be a Skywalker.
Also, did that lady see her when she put the lightsabers in the ground? Because you might want to hide those someplace else. Like, how long have you been standing there?
Gotta go dig those up.
Great.
I was waiting for the old lady to be like, "Oh, I'm a Skywalker related to this person.
I know.
Right.
I'm your mom," and you're like, "Oh," and that's how the movie ends.
Right.
Owen?
That's what I was waiting. Yeah, that's what I was waiting for to happen. But
Yeah, it's Aunt Beru from 30 years ago somehow.
Aunt Beru, and you're my daughter.
That would fit with like the small town theme, though. She'd be like, "Baru was my second cousin, twice removed." Like,
what?
So
I'm
she
just
chooses
get my
to become a
lightsabers and go.
Skywalker. That's Have I interpreted that correctly?
She was sort of adopted by them.
She is a Palpatine,
Yeah.
Well, okay.
but she chooses to be Skywalker.
Weird. And this is perfect. Technically, she was
A Palpatine.
a Skywalker. Sort of. Because Anakin was a Skywalker, but also a Palpatine. Technically.
Mm-hmm.
If we really boil it down.
Oh,
Anakin was a Palpatine.
Yeah, if you're taking the dad's last name.
So, I mean, yeah,
Damn.
I
like,
didn't think about it that way. That is
So-
crazy.
I mean,
That is crazy.
if you
Shoot.
really tinfoil hat this crap,
Skywalker is just a cool name.
Skywalker's a way cooler name than Palpatine.
Do you know that the original name was Star Killer?
Yeah,
Starkiller, yeah.
That's why they went with Starkiller Base.
Star Killer
Yep.
Base. Come on.
But
that's
so
Harvest Moon.
I like it.
I don't think that's the reason that she took the name, obviously, because she wouldn't have known all that crap. But I think it was just a moment of I'm choosing to stay a Jedi. I'm choosing to over the Sith, because even though I am truly supposed to be in this vision a Sith, choosing to be a Jedi, I'm choosing to be a Skywalker rather than a Palpatine.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah. And they show up to like show, like we adopt you.
like. Yeah, we're cool with it. You're a
You know,
Skywalker.
There's
So
not like
were y'all fans of the Palpatine twist?
I actually enjoyed it. It
Yeah.
made sense. It wrapped it up fine,
Yeah.
and it gave her a reason. First of all, it gave her a reason for me, because in episode 7, I was like, "Why is this rando girl so stinking powerful?"
Yeah.
It's because she's a Palpatine, and he's one of the most powerful beings that's Force sensitive, and so that it made everything make sense to me.
I would like to think that they thought of that before they made episode 7. There's no real proof that they didn't just think of it like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
See, part of me thinks that J.J. Abrams had 7, 8, and 9 mapped out, like beginning to end.
But my experience with Lost says maybe not.
But then part of me is like, he had a great plan for 7 that opened a bunch of doors,
Yeah.
gave it to somebody else. That guy dropped the ball, and he said, "Well, what is the coolest / most satisfying way I can redeem this story?"
Yeah.
Palpatine.
Yeah, you can bring back almost anybody. So that you've got that. I think they had it in mind by the time in episode 8 what Luke was saying, nobody's ever really gone.
Yeah.
He didn't just mean himself. He didn't just mean
Right.
Yeah, he meant Palpatine.
I liked the Snoke thing. A lot of people hated that they killed Snoke off in 8. I
wanted more answers on who Snoke was, and this movie gave me all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, like, I like Snoke in 7 and 8.
And I'm glad it wasn't Ezra.
But yeah.
Did you ever go there in your head?
That Snoke was Ezra?
Ezra Bridger. One time Ezra got a scar on his face, and I was like, Snoke. I was like, no, that can't be his character.
Oh
arc.
man, yeah,
And
that would have.
and then they said no, it's not. But like, yeah, it took like J.J. Abrams saying like, no, it's real, or maybe it was Dave Filoni. So like, no, it's
Oh
not.
man, no, I never would have made that.
I never thought that. I heard the Mace Windu theory. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah,
That
Snoke was Mace Windu.
But he's all like fried and looks like that now. I was like, no, no way.
No, whenever he said I created Snoke, I was like, dang, like that.
Yeah.
Just.
And it was the perfect timing on like showing me how too, because I mean I'm all thinking about cloners and Camino and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't know.
Okay, 2 questions, real quick.
All right, yep,
Have you ever used your hand
yes,
at a
easily.
Yeah, like
motion sensor door?
Yeah,
swipe
I
open
have
the
3
door
kids,
with the
and I
Force?
teach them how to do that with every elevator and every door we go into and
The
store
Force?
stuff. Yeah,
I do that at stoplights.
The Force?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
we do it to every elevator.
That's amazing.
We
I've
do
done it in
and
elevators.
especially when
So,
other people are around.
Our
I'll say to my daughter, "You got this?" She's like, "Yeah." Like
Yes.
perfect strangers. It gets a smile out of them.
That's amazing. We have the front door at our school building that I work at every day has a motion door, and I'm just like,
I especially like to
fly.
do
Yep.
it. I especially like to do it when there's a security camera that's real obvious, because I'm like, I hope somebody's watching this.
see, I can't be bold enough to like put my hand out and do
No,
that. I'll just like in
I'll
my
do that.
pocket or like in like right next to my legs.
I'm big about it.
When your daughter is old enough, you'll do it.
I'll have her
You'll-
close her
you'll
eyes.
have a
I'll
dad
have her Close
moment.
her eyes and move her hand.
That's what we
I'll-
do.
No, you won't. You'll just be like, "Hey, Jane, watch this." And
I
she'll
really
be like,
think
"What?"
that's what I love about elevators, because you've got a pretty good idea of the timing. Here's the
Yeah.
little ding, ding, ding. You're
Yes.
just watching it come down. And you're like, watch this.
Yeah,
I just had to ask you guys that because
No,
I
that's-
knew that was a
That's
not a
perfect.
just me thing.
That's a real deal.
Okay, and then my next question, last question: more movies? Question mark. The answer is obviously yes. The question is which ones, where they're going to fit in this storyline, a different storyline, totally different storyline, Star Wars story movies. What you think?
okay. So I think they're going to need to do something with Finn's backstory. Of they have to. They've set it up now for 2 or 3 movies. Well, 2, 7 and 9 had it prevalent of these kids that are stolen and raised to be stormtroopers and all this stuff. They're gonna have to do something. I don't know if it's gonna be a movie or a TV show, but especially adding in that Jana and all the people that rode horses and everything are stormtroopers. They're gonna have to do something there, and maybe that'll be with Lando too, of like
Be
saying,
interesting.
I don't know if that'll be a movie. I see that more being a TV show, because I don't figure they would do a movie. I don't know. That would just be like Finn and Lando and this girl.
They've got this engine now where you could do a movie straight to Disney Plus. I mean,
That's true.
Netflix does a lot of that.
That is true.
Doesn't have to be a big blockbuster thing.
Yeah, it's like a made-for-TV.
Yeah.
So what's confirmed? Clone Wars 7,
Clone Wars 7,
Obi-Wan,
Obi-Wan,
that's it,
Cassian.
and Cassian. Those are all 3 confirmed.
Those 3 are.
I'm so excited about Obi-Wan.
Dude, I can't wait for Obi-Wan. So my money's worth for Disney Plus is Mandalorian and Obi-Wan. That'll get me through my first year and a half or 2 years.
And anything
But yeah.
with K2SO?
No doubt.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So that show should be called K2SO. Should be called Cassian. But those are the only 3 things that are confirmed.
Yeah.
The next Star Wars movie has not been confirmed.
No, they've not.
Star Wars story or anything. They haven't
Like
No.
Skywalker saga is done. It really goes back to Solo.
So are they actually?
Solo was such a huge mistake.
Are they actually done though?
Well,
And I'm not
I
saying I
think-
didn't like the parts of the movie Solo, but like they should have scrapped whatever they had when they brought on
Yeah.
Ron Howard and said we're going to start from scratch and shoot it over again. And if it costs us $500 million, let's do it.
yeah. Well, okay, no,
Yeah.
actually,
And I think that loss said, okay, side stories, we got to take all these Star Wars stories and just put them away for a while. We'll do TV shows.
right. And see, so no, there are a few other things that are confirmed, but we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Like, there are a few, it seems like they're just gladly handing out trilogies, which I hate. The guys who did, and this is a big one that I think actually is getting ready to fall through, I've heard.
I heard it. I
The
heard that one
guys
got canceled.
from Game of Thrones were given a trilogy. again, don't know if he got tanked or not. Solo was supposed to be a trilogy.
Last I heard, Game of Thrones guys says we got a better offer right now, and we're gonna table that. We'd like to do it someday, but we're not doing it now.
Yeah. So I mean, like, they are wanting to do more things. Totally.
Yeah.
I think that Solo was a big thing of them being taught we can't do the Marvel thing of putting out one movie every year.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3 movies every year.
And Marvel can even squeak out a movie that's not very good, or just not a big crowd pleaser. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it was the. I don't think the once a year was the problem. I think it was the content.
Yeah.
I think they were just trying to crank stuff out too fast.
Yeah.
See, I don't
well,
mind
yeah,
that.
the Solo thing. If they would have they had a deadline, and they were like, "Oh no, get a new director, and we got to get it. Got to get it going now."
Yeah.
If they'd have just said, "Stop, we effed this up. Let's
we don't need to do
scrap
that."
it, do it all again." Even though I really enjoyed Solo,
I like that movie.
it had some really cool moments, some awesome moments.
Yeah.
But they did it too soon.
Yeah.
Well, and that's not a huge, crowd pleasing movie. Like you said, it's
Yeah. Well, I can
Not
say
that-
it is true that Han Solo is my favorite character. So even I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, but
right.
yeah, I can
But he's
get it.
not that particularly interesting.
So you think Emmerich did a pretty good job playing Solo?
I think he did. The person who I think did a better depiction was Donald Glover
He was
Yes.
awesome.
doing Lando.
Yes.
He was perfect.
He was so good.
The guy, I can't say his name, who did Han, did a lot of the same, very well portrayal.
Yeah.
But Donald Glover was way better at
They
Lando.
killed it.
Yeah, he was really good.
But I did really enjoy.
But to me,
Solo.
you could make. There's an infinite number of movies you could make.
Oh, they're gonna do something with Rey. They
think
have
so?
to. I think they have to.
I heard Disney. I heard Daisy is done.
I think she probably
That
is.
she doesn't want to do Star Wars
Yeah.
anymore.
You can just fast forward a little bit and get a.
But,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm thinking.
if they're
30 years from now, they're gonna get Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, and Daisy Ridley. And be like, hey, you guys want to make another Star Wars movie? And they'll be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
See, I think they could do something with Poe. I think they could do another thing with Poe
Yeah.
and Zori, and the whole Spice Runner thing. I think they could make a movie of just Poe and Finn and their backstories, and it would be gold.
Okay, so
I
to,
think.
to me, these characters 7, 8, and 9 need to be done for a little bit. Like I
Interesting.
understand the argument of, hey, they're the hottest characters right now. They have the biggest following right now. Let's go ahead and crank something out right now.
Yeah.
To me, this is the trilogy that does not need a Star Wars story movie right now.
Yeah.
Go backwards and do the original trilogy. You've already done that twice. Go back in between 3 and 4. That's where Obi-Wan's going to be. That's where Rebels is kind of at. Go back to 1, 2, or 3. Do some Clone Wars stuff. Do some pre-Episode 1 stuff. Do some Mace Windu stuff. Do some whatever you want. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But to me, 7, 8, and 9 is just like we've done this. We've done a pretty good job with it. Leave it alone. Let it cool off.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, 3, 5, 7 years from now, come back to it.
I agree with you that that's what they should do.
I don't think that's what they're gonna do.
I don't think that's what they're gonna do.
I don't think so either.
They wouldn't have set up this
I
whole thing
I
with the
totally agree.
backstory.
Well,
And if they were wanting Rey to be done,
Rey's
they
too-
wouldn't have given her another lightsaber.
She's too popular, man. She's too
Like,
the yellow
you gotta sell that
lightsaber
lightsaber.
is dope.
Yeah.
Okay, did
That
you hear?
was awesome.
Did you
I
hear
was
the
a
theory of why it's yellow?
huge fan because she's in between.
Yep, because the only people that were yellow lightsabers were
The temple
the Sentinels, and they're like the in betweens.
temple
Yeah.
guards, yeah.
And you notice that it's like made out of her staff,
Yeah.
which I thought was
It's
really
a
cool.
dope lightsaber.
Yeah,
It's one of the coolest
it's
ones
cool.
around. Rey's just too popular, man. She's too popular, and the ending is too vague and too obscure, and that's why the Skywalker saga is over. I don't buy it, man. I don't
No,
buy it.
I don't either. And I do understand that Daisy like you said, is
Bro,
is
she
done.
wants to move on with her life.
Well, she
and
got.
she deserves to, man.
Well, that's
she got.
I mean, that's
so
what
much,
everybody says. That's.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Han
I mean,
Solo's
Robert
been
Downey
trying to
Jr.
get
is
killed
the
off for a
same.
long time. Robert Downey's same.
Poor
but
guy.
no,
He
even
moved Doolittle movies.
Ewan McGregor really didn't.
So I
want
didn't sign
anything.
up for this crap.
Ewan McGregor didn't want anything to do with it, and now he's
Yeah.
finally like, yeah, I can go back to that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think after a certain amount of time, you're like, man, that was just fun, and those were really good movies, and why not make some more?
Well,
But like in the moment, like Daisy Ridley's like what 20, I don't know, 5.
Yeah,
Like,
something.
She doesn't want to be a Carrie Fisher
right.
who literally never makes anything.
You just can't do
else.
anything else because you're so typecast at that point.
Right.
Yeah. No, she'll be all right.
Like she'll be okay because she's already kind of breached, like kind of expanded out and done a bunch of other like little
Yeah.
roles and things. But
Yeah.
like Mark Hamill hardly ever did anything except for voice acting. Harrison Ford kept, making it big, obviously, but like Carrie Fisher never did anything hardly.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think she's like,
Blues
oh,
Brothers.
goodness.
No,
Yeah.
man, I want to see some. I want to see some Ezra Bridger and Sabine and.
See, I do. I want them
Ahsoka.
to continue Rebels.
Like the TV show, you mean, or like a live?
No, I want
action?
like a live action movie to wrap up Ahsoka
Wow.
and Sabine and.
See, that was
4
another
seasons in a movie.
Freddie Prinze and all this stuff. Everybody's there.
right.
Freddie doesn't get to play it live action, by the way.
Right. That was another thing that this
Maybe.
movie with Ahsoka being one of the voices is that, and bit of a spoiler for you, because you said you're at the part where
She's already fought Vader.
she's already fought Vader and
yeah.
died.
Yeah, she might die.
So
You don't know.
But yeah, that like she's dead,
Yep.
which doesn't end that way in Rebels.
Right.
And so like it's like I've already read a couple things that people are like,
So she
wait,
fights Vader.
okay, I'm not going to spoil that for you. You're going to have to watch Rebels and then you'll understand.
Okay.
We'll talk about it later.
No,
but,
she fought Vader. I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes ago.
yeah, and then the
They, like-
temple got crushed on her.
Right.
And it's just assumed that she died.
Right.
So yeah, it's that was an interesting thing of that, like,
That's so funny to give out so many spoilers in the last couple hours and be like, oh, I don't want to spoil this for you. We have a potential-
well,
we have a
for you
spoiler
people
alert
at
in the room.
home, I mean,
Yeah.
if he hadn't seen Rise of Skywalker,
I'm
I would-
saying.
yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it for
It's
him.
just funny.
For all of you who haven't been listening, Ray is a Palpatine.
I know
Spoiler alert.
that is a interesting.
Make sure you caught up on Rebels. Make sure you caught
Dude,
up on
I
all the
literally
stuff.
haven't been on
Oh,
the
dude.
internet in like 4 days.
That's all good. Hey, I deleted.
I have not been on the internet in like 4 days.
I deleted Facebook from my phone, the whole news feed from my phone like 2 weeks
I
ago.
have not.
Yeah.
I almost put my phone on airplane mode.
Yeah.
I didn't go that far, but I almost went
That's
that far.
funny.
Because last time, friggin' Last Jedi,
That
Man,
freaked me out.
got spoiled.
All somebody had to say was Ray Palpatine, and I was gonna be like, "No,
Mm-hmm.
you ruined it for me."
I literally sat down in the theater and I was like, I took a deep breath and I was like, I am so proud of myself. I know nothing about this movie. It was awesome.
You're
That
still at
doesn't-
the mercy
that
of the
doesn't
people in
happen
the
very often.
theater. Somebody else could have seen it a few hours ago and
No
talk
doubt.
about it to their
Dude,
friends.
yeah,
True.
I like this is the first time I've ever done this where I've like seen it twice. I was like, I'm not gonna say anything to my wife until the movie starts about this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a sitcom episode where this guy tries really hard to make it and he like finally gets the movie and like lays back. He's like, and then the guy next to him's like, hey, have you seen this movie yet? Or whatever. And he's like, no. And he's like, da-da-da. And he says, oh. He was so mad.
Just
Like a
ruined it.
Seinfeld episode or
I feel like it
something
was
or
like
other.
King of Queens or something. Okay.
So yeah.
I hope that Star Wars doesn't turn into an exclusively TV thing.
Mhm.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will. But I also hope they don't turn into a Marvel 5 movies in 10 years.
Right.
But somewhere in between. Like once every year or two, throw out a high quality Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, that can be a story that is somewhat related to the canon, Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Or it can be a old Republic, something that kind of starts a new trilogy or whatever.
I did hear a thing that they are going to make a Knights of the Old Republic.
Which would be
Yeah.
cool. I'm down
Something
for that.
or other.
I would love to see about 10,000 Jedi and 10,000 Sith go at each other. That'd be pretty.
That would be
that'd
pretty
cool. So anyway,
And Baby Chewbacca.
dude,
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. Paul loves Baby Yoda.
You go back.
Dude, did
250
you hear my
years, get
theory
Baby
about
Chewbacca.
that Baby Yoda is the true chosen one?
Bro, Ray is the chosen one.
Do you guys know who Seth MacFarlane is?
Yeah.
He put out a meme. It was like, Baby Yoda is E.T. is who's the Mogwai in Gremlins? I can't remember his name right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh! But he draws all the characters and has like an animation there that like shows them just like on an animated GIF where it's like these are all the same character, and this is an artist saying like, by the way, the reason you like this is because we know you like this, you know,
right.
Big eyes, little nose, you know, it's like add some ears a little different. That's it.
Wow. So
anyway,
is Rey the chosen one, or was Anakin the chosen one, or was Luke the chosen one?
I still say
Luke or Paul doesn't like the chosen one. He thinks the chosen one thing is
the one who brings balance to the Force.
I still say it was Anakin.
Yeah.
Because why have that prophecy in the first three, but not ever bring it back? Well, back up.
Well,
have it be in the later movies again.
It's the failure and the hubris of the Jedi to think, oh, we need some balance. When the scales are already tipped, there's like 1,000 Jedi and 2 Sith.
Right.
The balance to the Force means we got to reduce the Jedi down to the number of the Sith. And so that's what happened with Anakin, I think.
So you think Anakin is the chosen one?
Yeah.
So my biggest question with this movie, which I didn't write this one down, I need to write it down, but does this movie devalue the 6th movie? And the climax of the 6th movie.
No.
In particular.
No,
you don't think so?
No, because I think the biggest climax is really the turn of Vader back into Anakin,
right?
More than saving the galaxy.
So the
Emperor
not
it was about
actually
Luke being
dying.
right, you know.
So the Emperor not actually dying in 6 doesn't devalue the movie itself.
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so either.
But it does teach us all a valuable lesson. When you kill somebody, stop just chopping them in half and dropping them down a hole, or just
make sure they're dead,
or assuming that a little flash means that they're dead.
The little flash thing was like, okay, that guy's toast.
It seemed like it,
no doubt.
But now we know more. So
Darth Maul,
man.
When Darth Maul came back, I was like,
dude.
oh my god.
You got to see the pieces. Yeah.
Is Count Dooku actually dead?
Probably not.
His head's
There's a
probably
little-
on some.
yeah,
I mean,
like
the ship crashed, so he's
like
probably
those guys in
on some
Futurama where
droid
his head's in a
somewhere.
jar. A robot
No
body.
doubt. He's one of those heads in the Snoke laboratory at the beginning of the movie. That was Dooku's head.
Yeah. Oh man.
Okay, so for me, it devalues the movie number 6 a smidge, not much. I agree with you. I feel like I could see the argument like this movie makes the whole rest of the series like, bleh. I think that's dumb to take it that far and be that dramatic with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that like the whole series is over and everything is happy and the Empire's gone and whatever. Like for me, that like happy like family vibe episode 6 like leaves us on, which Lucas never knew we were going to come back and tell any more stories after this. But for me, that just kind of just a smidge knocks it down. And that's not a bad thing, I don't think, because it makes episode 9 even better. Like if you don't have the Emperor in episode 9's not nearly as good.
That's pretty true. I agree with that.
Right? Because I mean, who else could it have been? Vader, maybe.
After you've killed Snoke, I mean, it just you can't
I
just
just kept
introduce
waiting.
a new person.
I kept waiting for Vader to show up because if the Emperor's alive, why can't Vader be alive?
Because the funeral pyre.
Because Vader killed the Emperor.
We saw the part.
The Emperor would not have brought Vader back.
No, I know, but like if the Emperor didn't actually die, then why couldn't Vader have not actually died?
Yeah, he got burned out. He disintegrated.
We watched the
It
parts.
could have been his real body. Could have been
why you
just
do
a
that.
fake. Luke could have like saved the body somewhere else and just burned the.
All right, here's some quick ones. I think that hyperspace skipping.
The jumping, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
You didn't like
yes, it ain't like dusting crops, boy.
Yeah.
But there was like 5 close calls in a row where you just come out in the middle of dodging things.
Yeah, I think that was really, really cool idea.
It looked cool,
Just
and it
didn't
was
work
kind
out.
of ridiculous because like every time you jump, you should probably be between stars somewhere in the
They kept
vastness of space,
kept
and not
tracking
in the
them.
middle of something.
Yeah, I was gonna say they kept following
tracking
them
them.
easily.
Yeah.
I was like,
How do you
And so
track
that's, I
them?
guess, the thing. You're jumping into a place that's intentionally dangerous, like going into an asteroid field. I don't know.
that was weird.
It was kind of ridiculous. But you know what? The Emperor's still alive, so you're suspending a lot of disbelief.
Once that is established, then everything else, like, okay, I'll go with that one.
Okay, whatever.
I'll go with it. Whatever you say.
That was odd. I'll agree with that. Yeah.
I should have written down the other one. I'm sorry. I'm losing it now. So many crazy things.
Any other problems with this movie as far as bad things that they did?
Well, I like I said earlier, I rolled my eyes hard when they kissed.
Yeah.
I like.
I was like,
it's a little creepy.
Well, not even the creepy part. I just was like, why?
I was thinking
Did
Skywalker
we really need
babies
to
all the way.
I really just was never a fan of them getting together.
The 10 years in the future, ... 5-minute, shot of them just hanging out, and there's like little kids everywhere. That's what I was figuring.
It's like this reverse Romeo Juliet thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
It's like, I'm gonna heal you and bring you back to life. You're gonna heal me, bring me back to life, and then we kiss. But bringing people back to life kills you. So.
Yeah. I didn't like
pulls your life force.
I didn't like the way he died. I don't know. It just felt.
Why did it take that long for Leia's body to?
Okay, because she was giving him.
She keeping him alive.
Her life force.
She kept him alive.
Yeah.
Because that's why
he kept her alive.
Yeah, that's how I read it too. All right.
Yeah, that's how I got it.
That's how I understood it. I didn't like how he died though, but I guess he gave her life. He saved Rey with Leia's stuff. Whatever stuff.
Yeah.
I was like you. I didn't like the sucking the essence out of people.
Yeah, that was
for me.
That's
that
too
was
Dark Crystal. But like I said, that's disturbing to me.
That was
weird.
To me, that was the biggest thing in the movie. Like the rest of it, I was like, I can go with that. I can buy that. Yeah, that makes somewhat sense. That one, I was like, I don't know about that one.
Okay, I actually did not really like the sinking fields bit.
Oh, okay.
Because the only reason that was even there was to introduce that she can heal.
Yeah.
And like with the weird snake thing and everything, I was like, I was like, man, I feel like they could have done it in a better way for them to show us that she can heal, other than some random snake that's ginormous, some basilisk that they come across in the middle of the Chamber of Secrets.
There was a lot of Harry Potter nonsense going on in this movie.
Oh, that's funny. That was the only one that I immediately was like, oh, it looks like a basilisk. Anyway. That was probably one thing that I actually did not enjoy.
The mind reading, come on, man, Voldemort, jumping in Harry's mind, get the mind, the link, the sync.
Yeah,
come on. I'm just kidding.
Got the Voldemort powers, got the Palpatine powers.
Yeah. Can I just also say I'm so happy that this trilogy didn't ever mention midichlorians or anything.
Oh my god!
Why do people hate on the midichlorians so much?
Oh, because it's just so science in your magic. Don't science up my magic. It's magic.
It's fantasy. You don't want to hear about it.
The Force binds us. It connects all living things.
Yeah. I like the midichlorians. It makes sense.
I get just like you like the Chosen One thing.
I do like the Chosen One thing. I like the epic, prophecy of the Messiah. I think that's really cool and powerful. It's a classic archetype. I mean, Harry's the Chosen One. Come on.
It's just too played out, man.
Neo. Isn't Neo the Chosen One?
Yes, but Neo came before both of them things, so he's the original.
Bro, and there were other Neos before. So.
And there were other
There's
Neos.
This guy named Jesus. His name is the Messiah. He got prophesied time.
I mean,
just kidding. I like the midichlorians thing. I think it makes sense at least. Like Yoda has the most midichlorians, so he's the most.
Again, this is the dude who was raised on 1, 2,
But
3.
dude, okay, I do like Episode 3 a lot, so my Star Wars opinion is no longer valued by the Star Wars public.
No,
totally.
I get it.
Bunch of. Anyway,
that's how they thought it worked. All the Jedi were wrong. That's all.
I do like the fact that Yoda acknowledges the Jedi's weakness and the Jedi's problems and the Jedi's pride and arrogance in Episode 8. I think that's a really.
Yeah. And even in 3, he starts to. He's talking to Mace about it. How do we not see this coming? All this stuff. So.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. We've talked for far too long.
Long time.
Far too long. So.
Yeah, we probably should wrap it up.
We should definitely wrap it up. If you like Star Wars as much as us, or even close to as much as us, stick around for next week. We're going to rank our Star Wars movies 1 to 11.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
We'll have the season finale of The Mandalorian.
Oh,
we'll be talking all of season 1, plus the finale, plus some of our thoughts and predictions for season 2. So stay tuned. Episode 32 coming at you next week.
Episode 32. Might even see if old JC over here can come back on. We might throw him in the loop.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Have it back on for the 1 to 11. That'd be a fun
I'll check my schedule. See what my agent says.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, shoot.
My people call your people.
All right. Well, anything else, fellas, before we sign off?
Great movie.
Great movie.
Definitely gonna go see it again. 100%.
Nice.
Yep.
We recommend it. Oh, keep an eye out for Luke's episode.
Yep.
He'll do something. Hopefully, it's not 2 hours and 45 minutes long, but it
Part of
might
me,
be.
part of me thinks that Luke hated this movie. I don't think that's true.
I don't think.
I don't
so.
want to believe it, but there's a part of me. I'm like,
serious
man,
lack of Muppets in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. There's a part of me that thinks Luke's gonna poop on this movie.
Okay. Well, catch us next time, guys.